Douluo, Chapter 1, Shadow King. Chevron underscore left prev, next Shiva underscore right, Knights underscore stay. Douluo Continent, Fastnimo Province, Notting City. This child's martial spirit. Is it a beast martial spirit? In the Wuhuan Hall of Notting City, a young man wearing the deacon uniform of the Wuhuan Hall looked at the young man standing in front of him with doubts on his face. Su Yuntao. Is he the only child left with a martial spirit awakening? An old man walked in, looked at the martial arts awakening room where there was only one child left, and asked, Master Matthew Nuo. Seeing the visitor, Su Yuntao first saluted him respectfully, and then said, this child's martial spirit is a martial spirit that has never been seen before. Do we want to make a record? Oh, a martial spirit that has never been seen before? Matthew Nuo's eyes flashed. Let's make a record. Since it is a martial spirit that has never been seen before, of course we have to record it. After saying that, he walked in the office opposite. Hearing this, Su Yuntao nodded. After watching Matthew Nuo leave, he looked at the young man in front of him and asked in a gentle tone, my child, what is your name? Master Su Yuntao, my name is Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao, your parents must be very knowledgeable soul masters. Su Yuntao praised. Cheng Xiao nodded and did not answer the call. After all, as a time traveler from Blue Star, it seems that being without a father or mother has become a standard feature. So after he traveled to Douluo Continent, he was raised by the village chief of Cheng Xiao village next to the Holy Soul village. Then, Cheng Xiao, what is your martial spirit? Is it a beast martial spirit? Su Yuntao asked curiously. Cheng Xiao touched his nose and turned to look at the Shadow King standing behind him, wearing a dark purple cloak and armor, his eyes glowing purple through the armor. He paused and said, Master Su Yuntao, my martial spirit is called Shadow Soldier, and it's a beast spirit. It is indeed a beast spirit. Su Yuntao's eyes lit up after receiving Cheng Xiao's confirmation. He took the blue crystal ball aside and said with a smile, Cheng Xiao, let's test the spirit power. Okay. Cheng Xiao nodded, stretched out his right hand, and covered the crystal ball. The moment his palm touched the crystal ball, dark purple light suddenly filled the entire Wuhuan Hall. Oh my god, Su Yuntao exclaimed. He is born with full soul power. This child is born with full soul power. Looking at the little boy in front of him, Su Yuntao was filled with joy. If he could let Cheng Xiao join Wuhuan Hall, wouldn't he be able to get a promotion and a salary increase just around the corner? Ahem. Cheng Xiao, are you willing to join the Spirit Hall? Su Yuntao asked with trepidation. Cheng Xiao scratched his head. Master Su Yuntao, I think I may disappoint you. Su Yuntao was stunned for a moment and asked in confusion. Don't you want to join the Spirit Hall? Master Su Yuntao, I want to become a free soul master so. Cheng Xiao was silent for a moment and said slowly. Free soul master. Hearing these words coming from a child's mouth, Su Yuntao's face also showed a little bitterness. Once upon a time, he also wanted to become a free soul master, but the reality was cruel. He cannot become such a free soul master. In Douluo Continent, strength is respected. Okay. Taking a deep breath, Su Yuntao looked at Cheng Xiao's slightly immature face and couldn't help but smile. I believe in you. With your innate soul power, you must have the ability to change the world. Since you want to become a free soul master, I can't force you to join Wuhuan Palace. This is your choice. Thank you, Master Su Yuntao. Cheng Xiao smiled. It's okay. Su Yuntao shook his head and smiled and said, since you don't want to join the Wuhuan Hall, then I will give you a Wuhuan certificate. With it, I believe that the junior college will want you. Hearing this, Cheng Xiao nodded, and after completing the martial arts certificate with Su Yuntao, the two of them walked out of the door one after another. As soon as the door opened, Cheng Xiao's village chief grandpa came forward with a nervous look on his face. Master Deacon, what do you think? Can our Xiao Xiao become a soul master? As soon as grandpa finished speaking, Su Yuntao suddenly smiled and said, Village Chief Cheng, your grandson Cheng Xiao has become a soul master, and he is still full of innate soul power. First, I am born with full soul power. Village Chief Cheng turned his eyes to Cheng Xiao, who was standing next to Su Yuntao. A touch of surprise appeared on his old face, and he laughed. Great. My grandson is born with an innate soul, full of soul power. Grandpa, please keep your voice down. Seeing this, Cheng Xiao quickly walked to his grandfather and reminded him in a low voice. Cheng Xiao, although you have not joined Wuhuan Hall, if you have trouble in the future, you can come to Wuhuan Hall to find me at any time. Su Yuntao said. Xiao, why don't you thank the deacon immediately? Upon hearing this, Village Chief Cheng quickly patted his grandson on the shoulder. No need. Su Yuntao waved his hand and said with a smile, I'm going to the Holy Soul Village later, so I won't delay you. After saying that, Su Yuntao smiled at Cheng Xiao and strode away immediately. After learning that Cheng Xiao was born with full soul power, Village Chief Cheng returned to the village and told everyone that his grandson was born with full soul power. He was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. For this reason, Cheng Xiao was helpless, but he had no choice. Grandpa was proud of his grandson, and there was no need for him to spoil the old man's happiness. However, there is one thing he needs to figure out now, and that is whether after awakening the Shadow King's martial spirit, he can make dead creatures become his shadow soldiers like Cheng Xiao. Early the next morning, Cheng Xiao couldn't wait to buy a live chicken from a neighbor. He couldn't deal with soul beasts or anything like that, but when it came to poultry, it was no problem. After processing the chicken, Cheng Xiao took a deep breath, summoned his martial spirit, and then said coldly, Stand up. Well, it looks like a failure. Cheng Xiao sighed. Just at this moment, a clear, low, plain, and majestic voice sounded in Cheng Xiao's mind. I am the Shadow King Aspen, the new successor of my power. Are you ready to accept my power? Aspen, Cheng Xiao's pupil shrank. He knew the existence of the Shadow King as well as he could. After all, the reason why he was able to travel to Douluo Continent was because he watched me upgrade alone all night, but he was too sleepy to go out in the morning, so he didn't take the stairs or the elevator, so he came here. It seems that the reason why my power came to this world is closely related to you, my successor. Shadow King Aspen said. It seems to be. Cheng Xiao scratched his head, a little embarrassed. It seems so. The power rules of this world are quite interesting. Above this world, there seems to be a more powerful power. Shadow King Aspen said lightly. They are gods above this world. Cheng Xiao said. God? I haven't heard this title for a long time. Shadow King Aspen said. Accept my power, and you will soon become the inheritor of the third generation of Shadow King. As the voice fell, Cheng Xiao only felt that his heart seemed to be pulled by something and began to beat violently. It seemed that his chest was pressed with a breath, and he couldn't breathe. The sudden pain made Cheng Xiao unable to stand up anymore. He curled up on the ground and bent like a shrimp. You are different from Cheng Xiao. He has a system made by the designer. Because of the different energy of the world, I can't let you upgrade slowly like Cheng Xiao to accept my power. But the power I left in your body will slowly become stronger as your level increases. When you are strong enough, your shadow soldiers will become more. One person is an army, a true king. I hope that when we meet again, you have become a Real Shadow King. Chevron underscore left previous home index, next Chevron underscore right. Douluo. Chevron underscore left prev. It was just dawning, and a faint white fish belly rose in the distance in the east. On the country road in Cheng Xiao village, there was already a thin figure running. Cheng Xiao gasped for breath. This was already his third month of training since inheriting the power of Shadow King Aspen. With the nourishment of the power of shadow, his physical fitness has also been greatly improved. Otherwise, training with his 6-year-old body would be a dream. No matter how strong his willpower is, if his body is not good enough, he will not be able to do it. To overdraw his body's potential prematurely and break through the so-called limits is tantamount to self-destruction. But after being nourished by the power of shadow, Cheng Xiao clearly felt that his body became lighter than before and his strength was much stronger. Moreover, after each training, he went back to have a good sleep and his body would be better the next day. It's almost recovered. And this is also the fundamental reason why Cheng Xiao was able to continue training for 3 consecutive months. After running 20 kilometers, Cheng Xiao stopped and looked at the rising sun with a smile on his face. Training is undoubtedly boring and tedious, but Cheng Xiao feels vaguely addicted because he can feel that every time he completes training, he will feel that his body has improved a bit. This feeling of physical improvement is what keeps Cheng Xiao going. You know, even the second-generation Shadow King Cheng Xiao came here step by step, but he walked faster. After returning home, Cheng Xiao saw at a glance the breakfast prepared by his grandfather. A bowl of steaming white porridge, a peeled egg, and a palm-sized sesame cake. Originally, there were no eggs in the house, but after Cheng Xiao got up early for training, the house gradually had eggs. Xiao, take a shower after eating. Grandpa will send you to study at the Soul Master Academy in Notting City. There's a quota for work-study students in our village, which is just for you. Grandpa Cheng said with a smile. Thank you, Grandpa. Cheng Xiao smiled and slowly ate breakfast. After getting along for several years, the relationship between the grandfather and grandson is very good. It can be said that they are biological grandfather and biological grandson. After eating, Cheng Xiao took a bath first, and then put on the new clothes that his grandfather bought him in Notting City a few days ago. Although he didn't know how much he spent, Cheng Xiao liked them very much because he liked them very much. It was bought for him by his grandfather who took care of him when he was growing up. As he walked on the road, Cheng Xiao held his grandfather's hand tightly. Maybe it was because they were about to leave, or for some other reason, but his hand was always held tightly. Cheng Xiao village is not far from Notting City. If we leave in the morning, we will almost arrive in the afternoon. Looking at the thick city wall in the distance, Cheng Xiao and his grandfather entered Notting City after undergoing some inspections. Xiao, Grandpa will send you to the academy and go back later. You can study hard in the academy alone and think more about anything you encounter. You have been smart since you were a child, so Grandpa won't talk too much to you. Cheng Xiao nodded, his eyes a little red. Although he was a time traveler, he still felt the warmth of his family here. Grandpa touched Cheng Xiao's head and said, "Okay, man, don't shed tears all the time. Tears are very precious. Except for those you love and those who love you. Don't shed tears casually." Hearing this, Cheng Xiao sniffed. "Grandpa, I'm not crying. I just can't let you go." Hearing this, Grandpa laughed out loud. The two held hands, and after asking passersby, they found the Soul Master Junior College located in the west of Notting City. Looking from a distance, Cheng Xiao saw at a glance the 4 large characters, Notting College, hanging on the rock arch, which was very grand. Cheng Xiao was a little surprised. As a time traveler, seeing the academy in this world with his own eyes was really shocking. Just a junior college is so impressive. This alone is enough to prove how important the Soul Master status is in Douluo Continent. As he approached the door, Cheng Xiao discovered that he was not the only one reporting for duty today. The old man in front of him and the little boy beside him had arrived earlier than him. "Are you also a work-study student who came to the college to register?" At this time, the concierge noticed the 2 people dressed in simple clothes and asked. Just as Grandpa Cheng was about to speak, he heard Cheng Xiao say, "Hello, this is my Wuhuan certificate. It was stamped by Master Su Yuntao, the deacon of Wuhuan Hall, personally." After speaking, Cheng Xiao handed over the martial arts certificate. When the concierge saw the 2 men in plain clothes, he subconsciously wanted to ridicule them. After all, there had been no work-study students at Notting College for several years. Now that 2 students were here, and they were both from a small village, he had to become suspicious. Of course, he is not doubting the proof of the opening of the Wuhuan Palace, but intends to take advantage of this opportunity to make a profit. After all, parents who come to send their children to school are generally more interesting, especially those from civilian families with no background. It is his main goal. Cheng Xiao naturally understood this truth, so he mentioned the name of the deacon of Wuhuan Hall as soon as he opened his mouth, and specially emphasized that it was stamped by Master Su Yuntao himself. Notting City is just a small place. As the deacon of Wuhuan Palace, he didn't believe that the concierge in front of him had never heard of Su Yuntao's name. Sure enough, after hearing Cheng Xiao say Su Yuntao's name, the concierge restrained his intention to ridicule a lot. He took the former's martial spirit certificate and looked it up and down. Martial spirit shadow soldier, innate, full of soul power. Innately full of soul power. The concierge screamed. His eyes changed when he looked at Cheng Xiao, and his voice trembled a lot. "Excuse me, can I go in?" Cheng Xiao said with a smile. Yes. The concierge stuttered a little and hurriedly opened the iron gate for Cheng Xiao with a flattering look on his face. Seeing Cheng Xiao walk into the academy, Grandpa Cheng also smiled. He glanced at old Jack and Tang San who were stopped outside the door and left slowly without saying anything. "You are deliberately making things difficult for us." At this time, an angry voice sounded. The doorman was stunned at first. Then he looked at old Jack impatiently and said, "Why don't you 2 beggars leave? Do I have to ask you to go away? Then why can you go in?" Tang San, who was beside old Jack, spoke up. He looked calm and looked at the doorman and said, "If you think my martial spirit certificate is fake, then why do you think his martial spirit certificate is real? Or is it because my martial spirit is blue silvergrass, so you deliberately make things difficult for us?" Don't look at Tang San's young age, but he was a disciple of the Tang sect in his previous life. For such a dog-eyed guy, he will never be stingy with the things in his hand, such as the silent sleeve arrow in his left glove sleeve. As a disciple of the Tang sect, he remembers the general outline of the Xintian treasure record of the Tang sect clearly. If you are sure that the opponent is an enemy, as long as he has a way to kill him, don't show mercy, otherwise it will only add trouble to yourself. In Tang San's opinion, the doorman's distinction between them was completely contempt for them. We were all part-time students. Why should his martial spirit certificate be true and my martial spirit certificate be false? In addition, his meanness was already a way to kill him. If it weren't for the fact that the doorman didn't do anything to old Jack, there would definitely be an extra short arrow in the doorman's throat. He was absolutely sure that no one, including all the people present, would find out that he shot it. Without evidence, who could prove that he killed someone? "Damn, you little brat, you're looking for death." Being speechless by a child, the doorman was furious and raised his palm to slap Tang San in the face. Seeing that the doorman was about to take action, Tang San's eyes flashed with a cold light, and his left hand raised forward, aiming the silent sleeve arrow at the doorman's throat. "What's the matter with you?" Just as Tang San was about to shoot the doorman, a somewhat hoarse voice sounded, stopping the doorman's action and also stopping Tang San from shooting the doorman. Hearing the voice, Cheng Xiao, who had entered the room but did not leave, looked behind Tang San and saw a middle-aged man of medium build and a little thin, slowly walking towards him. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 3. You don't want to be my disciple? Chevron left. Tang San was stunned for a moment. He turned his head and looked back. A middle-aged man who looked about 40 or 50 years old came behind him. He looked very ordinary, with thick lips, a crew cut, and thick stubble on his face. He looked a little decadent and lazy. Seeing the person coming, the doorman quickly put down his raised hand. The angry look disappeared, replaced by a flattering, "Master, you are back." Hearing this, the master just glanced at the doorman, then looked at Cheng Xiao who had entered the academy but did not leave, and finally set his sights on Tang San. As a village chief, Old Jack still knows how to read people's expressions. Judging from the doorman's expression, the middle-aged man in front of him must be an important person. He immediately handed over the martial spirit certificate and told him what happened just now. The master looked at the certificate in his hand and said to Old Jack, "This martial spirit certificate is real. Old sir, I apologize to you on behalf of the academy for what happened just now, and I will give this child to you." The big shot actually apologized to him, and Old Jack's face flushed a little, and he waved his hands repeatedly. "Master, then Xiao San will be handed over to you. Please help me." The master nodded after hearing this. Afterwards, Old Jack gave Tang San a few more instructions before leaving. After Old Jack walked away, the master had time to look at the doorman. "This is the first time and the last time. If you do it again, I will tell the dean the truth, and you don't need to stay." Hearing this, the doorman nodded repeatedly, and cold sweat ran down his back. The master looked down at Tang San and forced a smile on his face. His facial muscles were a little stiff, and his smile was a little hard to flatter. He took Tang San's hand, pointed at Cheng Xiao, who was about to leave behind the iron gate, and asked, "Is he also a part-time student with you?" "Yep." Tang San looked at Cheng Xiao, who had already walked away, and shook his head. "He came after me, but the gatekeeper let him in after seeing his martial spirit certificate." "Well, I know." A glimmer of wisdom flashed in the master's eyes. If he guessed correctly, the child's martial spirit must be good. Otherwise, with the gatekeeper's temper, he would never let him in so easily. Cheng Xiao walked in front of the two. Since it was his first time in Nani College, he didn't walk very fast. He was completely looking for the teaching building while visiting. But soon, the master behind him took Tang San's hand and walked to Cheng Xiao's side. "Little friend, are you also a part-time student this year?" The master looked at Cheng Xiao on his left and asked. "Hello, teacher. My name is Cheng Xiao, and I'm a part-time student in Qingjia Village." Cheng Xiao paused and looked at the master. "I'm not a teacher in the academy." The master shook his head and said lightly, "You are not a teacher in the academy, but you are called master, so you must be a leader of the academy." Tang San on the right side of the master said, "You were smart as a 6-year-old child, but you were still wrong. I'm not a leader of the academy." The master denied. Cheng Xiao pretended to be puzzled and said, "Since you are not a teacher in the academy, why are you called master?" The master stood up straight and said profoundly, I'm just a guest who eats and drinks here. As for why I'm called master, it's because everyone calls me that. I even forgot my name. You must understand that master and teacher are two titles with different meanings. Don't call me by the wrong name in the future." A gleam of light flashed in the master's eyes. "Unless you are willing to worship me as your master and let me be your teacher." "Worship me as your master? Are you going to teach us how to cultivate martial spirits?" Tang San asked excitedly after hearing this. The master stopped and looked at Tang San. "Then are you willing?" Tang San also stopped and looked at Cheng Xiao, who was standing beside the master without speaking, and then looked at the master standing in front of him. He neither said yes nor no. "It seems that I have to be persistent for once." Seeing that Tang San did not answer, the master continued. "After all, you are also the only twin martial spirit in 100 years. After hearing the master's words, Tang San was shocked, and his eyes changed when he looked at the master. He quietly raised his left wrist, turned on the sleeve arrow safety switch, and looked at the master in doubt. The master saw that Tang San's face changed slightly, so he took out Tang San's martial spirit certificate and explained in a calm tone, "Little friend, don't be too nervous. I don't have any bad intentions. I guess that you have twin martial spirits from this martial spirit certificate. Besides, if I can't even see this, then I don't deserve to be called a master." Hearing the master's explanation, Tang San's eyes gradually calmed down. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by Cheng Xiao. "Master, why don't we talk while walking?" Cheng Xiao didn't want to listen to the master showing off his knowledge, so he suggested. Hearing this, Tang San looked at Cheng Xiao deeply and didn't speak. "Okay, let's talk while we walk." The master looked at Cheng Xiao, who had no expression on his face, and muttered in his heart. Doesn't he understand the importance of the Wuhuan theory? Tang San is a kid who knows what he's talking about, so why doesn't he want to listen? That's right, he doesn't know my name yet, nor does he know the value of the 10 core theories of the Wuhuan. Thinking this in his heart, the master intentionally or unintentionally slowed down his pace and talked about his theory. However, after talking for a long time, Cheng Xiao still looked uninterested. The master reluctantly gave up the idea of accepting a disciple based on theory and focused on explaining to Tang San. After all, it was not a loss to accept a disciple with twin martial spirits. The master's speech speed was not fast, and it was easy to understand. After listening to the master's theory, Tang San also realized the strength of this middle-aged man. He immediately stopped and stepped back in the master's surprised eyes. He knelt on his knees, kowtowed 3 times, and asked the master to accept him as a disciple. Seeing Tang San kowtow to become a disciple, the master said, "Silly boy," but he was very satisfied in his heart. With such a genius with twin martial spirits as his disciple, he will definitely be able to prove to the world that he, Yu Xiaojing, is not a waste. Bending down and helping Tang San up, the master said calmly, "You don't need to kowtow to become a disciple, just bow." Tang San said solemnly, "Once a teacher, always a father. As my teacher, you should be worshipped by me." Seeing this, the master looked at Cheng Xiao, who stopped by the side, and saw that he looked uninterested. After hesitating for a while, he still asked, "Child, don't you want to become my disciple? I've seen your knowledge, but I'm not very interested in the theoretical knowledge of martial spirits. Thank you for your appreciation. I think I'd better forget about becoming a disciple." Cheng Xiao's words were flawless, neither offending the master's face, nor offending the other party. "Well, becoming a disciple is based on your willingness. Child, if you don't want to, I won't force it." The master shook his head with some regret, and then said to Tang San on the side, "Xiao San, let's go. Let's report to the academic affairs office." After speaking, the master took Tang San's hand and walked towards the academic affairs office, ignoring Cheng Xiao. He believed that under the guidance of his spirit theory, Tang San would quickly distance himself from this child, and then he would realize how wrong his choice was. Cheng Xiao looked at the 2 people leaving, shrugged, didn't care, and followed them. The purpose of going to the Spirit Master Academy seems to be to learn theoretical knowledge, right? Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 4 I Dawn and Chevron_left Prev, next. Nodding Junior Soul Master Academy is not as big as it looks. With the master leading the way, Cheng Xiao quickly arrived at the academic affairs office. With the soul certificate issued by the Soul Hall, he successfully completed the registration and became a first-year student at Nodding Academy. "Xiao San, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. I'll come to you when I have time." Looking at Tang San, who had completed the registration, the master said lightly, "Okay, teacher." Tang San nodded. The master touched Tang San's head and looked at Cheng Xiao deeply when he turned and left. When registering students just now, he also saw Cheng Xiao's soul certificate, B-Soul, Shadow Soldier, innate full soul power. In his eyes, he's a true genius. If he has his own theoretical knowledge, his future achievements will be at least titled Douluo. It's a pity that this child is not interested in the theory of soul. As a master of the theory of soul, if he is so eager to accept disciples, wouldn't it be a joke? But the master was not in a hurry. After they started to practice martial spirits, the gap between Tang San and Cheng Xiao would become bigger and bigger. By then, he still didn't believe that Cheng Xiao would not worship him as his master. After the master left, Director Su, who registered Tang San and Cheng Xiao, was also a little surprised, but he didn't say much. After handing 2 sets of brand new school uniforms to the 2 children, he continued to be busy with his work. "Thank you." Cheng Xiao took the school school uniform and thanked Director Su politely, and then walked out of the academic affairs office with Tang San. After leaving the academic affairs office, Tang San and Cheng Xiao held the school uniform and quickly found their dormitory according to the location given by the teacher of the academic affairs office. Since they were part-time students, they were naturally assigned to the part-time student dormitory, Dormitory 7. Before entering the dormitory, Cheng Xiao and Tang San heard the noise coming from inside. When they opened the door, they saw 7 or 8 children playing and fighting. It seemed that no one noticed the 2 people who came in. Hey, are you new part-time students? At this time, one of the older children walked towards the 2. We are, what's the problem? Cheng Xiao narrowed his eyes and looked at the boy who was walking towards him. On the first day of school, are you going to show off your power? Tang San stood aside, not saying anything, just silently looking at the boy who was 2 heads taller than him. Since you are in Dormitory 7, you must abide by Dormitory 7's rules. The tall boy looked down at the 2 of them and said, My name is Wang Sheng, my spirit is the Battle Tiger, and I am a future Battle Spirit Master. I'm also the boss of Dormitory 7. What are your names? What is your spirit? Tang San and Cheng Xiao looked at each other and reported their names and spirits. Blue Silver Grass? Shadow? What kind of rubbish spirits are these? Wang Sheng's expression was extremely exaggerated, and he laughed out loud. With Wang Sheng's opening, the other children in the dormitory burst into laughter, looking at the 2 as if they were idiots. Shadow and Blue Silver Grass. These 2 spirits sound rubbish. How can they be as domineering as the boss of their dormitory? Wang Sheng's Battle Tiger? Okay, stop laughing. Wang Sheng waved his hand, looked at Cheng Xiao and Tang San, and said, Now that we are in Dormitory 7, you 2 have to listen to me from now on, understand? After saying that, Wang Sheng stretched out his hand and pushed Tang San, who looked easy to bully. As for Cheng Xiao beside Tang San, Wang Sheng chose to ignore him. Sometimes bullying people has to pick those who look easy to bully, and Tang San in front of him is just such a person. It seems that we can't do without a fight. Tang San put away the luggage and school uniform in his arms. The next second, Tang San came behind Wang Sheng like lightning, with his right arm slightly bent. At the same time as he elbowed him in the waist, he kicked his calf with his right foot and knocked him to the ground directly. You dare to sneak attack me? Wang Sheng, who got up, was furious. A layer of faint yellow light emerged from his body. He rushed towards Tang San at an incredibly fast speed, which was the activation of his martial spirit. Looking at Wang Sheng, who activated his martial spirit, Cheng Xiao shook his head. After all, he was still a child, easily angry and easily upset. However, he and Tang San came together. Although Tang San could easily defeat Wang Sheng, it would be unreasonable for him not to do something now. So, Cheng Xiao joined the battle team and fought against Wang Sheng, the boss of the 7th dormitory, and his younger brothers together with Tang San. Since accepting the shadow power of the Shadow King, coupled with 3 months of continuous training, Cheng Xiao's physical fitness has greatly improved. Facing these roommates who are not even first-ring soul masters, it is more than enough. Looking at the children who surrounded him, Cheng Xiao clenched his 5 fingers into a fist and rushed toward the child the moment he raised his leg. The child saw Cheng Xiao rushing over and hurriedly clenched his fist and waved at Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao tilted his head to the left, hit the opponent's abdomen with his clenched fist, and then quickly withdrew it, and then turned and rushed towards the other roommates who had not yet reacted. Ah, don't hit someone in the face. Don't hit me in the face. Boss, save me, ah. As several screams were heard, Tang San, who had just finished beating Wang Sheng, turned his head and saw 3 or 4 children lying on the ground, wailing and holding their painful body parts. The others who did not participate stood respectfully by the side, not daring to fart. Cheng Xiao, the culprit of all this, had already found a bed with his school uniform and luggage, as if the children wailing on the ground were not beaten by him. Ah, damn it. Wang Sheng's eyes widened, looking at his brothers who were beaten down, his voice trembling a little. Cheng Xiao is the ruthless one. Wang Sheng, come and help me make the bed. Yes. Wang Sheng jumped up from the ground, walked to Cheng Xiao's bed with a flattering smile on his face, and stretched out his hand to help him make it up. Seeing this scene, Tang San shook his head, and also chose an empty bed and started to make it up. Tang San, was that a soul skill you just used? After being beaten, Wang Sheng and his men no longer had the arrogance they had at the beginning, and they talked to the 2 of them in a good tone. After a fight, they also saw that the 2 were not easy to mess with. Soon, Wang Sheng told the rules of the work-study student boss and strongly recommended Cheng Xiao as the work-study student boss. After all, everything that just happened was still vivid in his mind. Let Tang San take over the position of the work-study student boss. Cheng Xiao was not impressed by Wang Sheng's flattery, and decisively rejected the proposal of the work-study student boss and recommended Tang San as the dormitory boss. Well, okay then, Wang Sheng sighed when he saw Cheng Xiao refused, and then his eyes turned and fell on Tang San. Tang San was about to wave his hand to refuse, but he saw Wang Sheng and others looking at him with hopeful expressions. From the expressions on their faces, Tang San felt a sense of responsibility, the responsibility to protect the weak, and this feeling is usually called a sense of justice. As a disciple of the Tang sect, how can you not have a sense of justice? Seeing that he couldn't refuse, Tang San was ready to agree, but at this moment, a crisp voice came from outside. Excuse me, is this the 7th dormitory? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and saw a girl with a pink face standing at the door, with a scorpion braid longer than her hips, and a pair of watery big eyes revealing curiosity, looking into the dormitory. The boys had never seen such a scene before, and they were stunned and forgot to say anything. Cheng Xiao also saw the girl standing at the door, but he didn't care. Xiao Wu was only 6 years old now. How beautiful could she be? Douluo, Soul Shadow. Chapter 5, just a little knowledge of boxing. Wang Sheng nodded and lowered his voice to explain to Tang San the school's rules for allocating dormitories. Wang Sheng nodded and... Can men and women live together here? Tang San couldn't help but asked Wang Sheng in a low voice. Wang Sheng nodded and lowered his voice to explain to Tang San the school's rules for allocating dormitories. After explaining, Wang Sheng said again, Boss, go and give her a blow. It's best to be more ruthless and give her some pain. Tang San wanted to refuse and let him bully a girl, but he really couldn't do it. However, Wang Sheng's mouth was too powerful. After a few words of encouragement, Tang San still stepped forward and asked, My name is Xiao Wu, Dancing Wu. Xiao Wu introduced herself with a sweet smile on her face. Seeing the sweet smile on Xiao Wu's face, Tang San turned slightly red, hesitantly told Qi Shi's rules, and smoothly said his name, Wu Huan, and then asked Xiao Wu for a spar, to determine the ownership of the dormitory boss. Xiao Wu put her school uniform aside and said excitedly, Okay, let's do it then. The next second, Xiao Wu launched an attack on Tang San. The 2 of them went back and forth. After a few rounds, seeing Tang San suddenly stunned, Cheng Xiao had already guessed the outcome of this duel. It stands to reason that Tang San was not young in his previous life, right? Facing a little girl like Xiao Wu, how could she turn red and be stunned in a duel? Isn't this a bit too? After losing to Xiao Wu, Tang San felt unwilling to accept it, but a loss was a loss. He didn't want to make any excuses, but secretly thought in his heart that he would definitely win the next duel. According to the rules of the dormitory, if you beat me, you will be our boss from now on. Boss? It seems fun. Okay, I will be your boss from now on. Who can introduce me to the school? Seeing the duel end and the defeated Tang San, Wang Sheng and others had not yet reacted. After all, Who would have thought that the previous boss would be replaced before he had only sat in this position for a few minutes? Seeing that no one was paying attention to her, Xiao Wu pouted. Her eyes swept across everyone's bodies and finally landed on Cheng Xiao sitting on the bed. Before entering the door, Xiao Wu noticed this handsome boy. Although she didn't know his name yet, she still shouted to Cheng Xiao openly. The one sitting on the bed, come and tell me about the school. Cheng Xiao looked up and saw that everyone in the dormitory was looking at him. There was both worry and envy in their eyes. Although he was afraid of Xiao Wu's fighting power, the other person was a girl. We are all young, and it is rare for a girl to come to the dormitory. Not everyone has the chance to be noticed by a girl. Besides, this girl is pretty, and she is the envy of others. You called me? Cheng Xiao was a little depressed. Shouldn't you look at Tang San more because of the aura of blue silver grass? My name is Cheng Xiao, and I'm also a new work study student. I don't know the specific situation of the school. Why don't you ask Wang Sheng? He knows. Cheng Xiao pointed at Wang Sheng and said, I don't. I'm the boss now. How dare you not listen to what the boss wants you to do? Xiao Wu was a little unhappy. Compared to the plain-looking Wang Sheng, she still wanted Cheng Xiao to do the talking. Boss. Wang Sheng gritted his teeth and stood up. Cheng Xiao has just arrived. How about I come and tell you? I don't care. Xiao Wu pouted, looked at Cheng Xiao and said, it's okay if you don't say anything, but you have to fight with me. Hearing this, Wang Sheng, who had originally planned to leave a good impression on Cheng Xiao, immediately shut up. Although Cheng Xiao was very powerful, Xiao Wu seemed to be even more powerful. In his opinion, Cheng Xiao was able to defeat his younger brother, so he definitely had the strength. But compared with Tang San who defeated him, he was still a little inferior. Even Tang San had not beaten Xiao Wu, so Cheng Xiao would face Xiao Wu. Not to mention, seeing Xiao Wu being so persistent, Cheng Xiao couldn't help but sigh. I don't know how to fight. I admit that you were the boss, but I really don't know what you were asking about the school. Xiao Wu looked at Cheng Xiao who was sighing and couldn't help but bite her silver teeth and said, no, I must fight with you. Yes, it's a blessing, not a curse. It's a curse that can't be avoided. Since Xiao Wu is so persistent, he can only accept it. Okay, it's okay to have a fight, but after the fight, no matter whether you win or lose, don't bother me. Cheng Xiao got off the bed, spread his hands, and said helplessly, he really doesn't know how to fight. To put it bluntly, he only knows a little bit about boxing and kicking. Fight first and then talk. With a slight grunt, Xiao Wu bent her right leg and stood up. Her toes instantly popped out and kicked Cheng Xiao directly on the chin. Cheng Xiao turned his body to the left, dodging Xiao Wu's kick. At the same time, he instantly grabbed Xiao Wu's ankle with his right hand, and then used the inertia of Xiao Wu's body to throw it behind him. Xiao Wu reacted very quickly. He immediately put his palms on the ground, twisted his body, and kicked his other leg towards Cheng Xiao, but was blocked by the opponent's left hand. Then, Cheng Xiao let go of his right hand, and Xiao Wu's body suddenly lost its strength. I lost my balance and fell to the ground with a snap. Listening to the crisp sound, it was obvious that the fall was not light. It hurts. Xiao Wu, who landed on her, but cried out in pain, and the expression on her face was twisted into a ball. Holy shit, Cheng Xiao beat the boss. Looking at this scene, Wang Sheng and others were stunned. Xiao Wu, who defeated Tang San, actually lost to Cheng Xiao. Moreover, not only did he win, he even won easily, but he didn't know how to cherish the beauty. However, Wang Sheng secretly gave Cheng Xiao a thumbs up, and he was indeed the boss he recognized. Sorry, I was a bit harsh. Cheng Xiao stepped forward and stretched out his hand. It doesn't count this time. I was careless. Xiao Wu covered her painful buttocks and stood up. Cheng Xiao smiled slightly and said, we agreed just now, no matter whether we win or lose, don't bother me. Xiao Wu's face changed. She stamped her feet angrily, turned around with her hands on her waist, looked at the others fiercely, and said, did I agree to his conditions just now? No, we didn't hear anything just now. Wang Sheng and others looked at each other and shook their heads quickly. Did you hear that? I didn't agree just now. Xiao Wu nodded with satisfaction. She was very satisfied with what Wang Sheng and others said. Cheng Xiao ignored Xiao Wu's cheating behavior and turned to walk towards his bed. Seeing this, Xiao Wu pouted and followed with light steps, as if her buttocks didn't hurt anymore. Cheng Xiao, didn't you say you wouldn't fight? Xiao Wu sat on the empty bed next to Cheng Xiao and asked curiously. I really can't fight. I just know a little bit about boxing and kicking. Cheng Xiao glanced at her and said lightly, where's the new part-time student? Come out for a moment. At this moment, a teacher in his 30s walked in from outside. Cheng Xiao, Tang San, and Xiao Wu stood up at the same time. My name is Mo Hen. You can call me Teacher Mo. This is the bedding that the academy has distributed to you. Mo Hen said, handing out the 2 quilts in his arms. Cheng Xiao and Tang San took the bedding, but found that the 2 beddings were brand new, and there was a pillow in between. Mo Hen said, since you are part-time students, you will be responsible for the sanitation of the garden over the playground in the future. 10 copper soul coins per day. Remember, you have to clean it every day, otherwise your salary will be deducted. Hearing this, Cheng Xiao and the other 2 nodded at the same time. After conveying the message, Mo Hen left. Holding the bedding in his arms, Cheng Xiao was a little confused. Could it be because the academy saw that he was born with full soul power? Tang San, who was standing by, didn't think too much and returned to the bed with the quilt in his arms. Xiao Wu stared blankly at the quilt in Cheng Xiao's hand, with a bit of embarrassment in her eyes. Mo Hen only brought 2 quilts and divided them between Cheng Xiao and Tang San. Now she was the only one without quilts in the whole dormitory. Wang Sheng and several part-time students saw Xiao Wu's embarrassment and immediately said that they would make a set of quilts for Xiao Wu. But when Xiao Wu took a look at their tattered quilts, it was difficult to agree. Cheng Xiao, let's discuss it. Looking at Cheng Xiao, who hadn't made the bed yet, Xiao Wu's eyes lit up and said, what to discuss? Cheng Xiao heard this and met Xiao Wu's burning eyes. Your quilt is so big, I think it's okay for 2 people to cover it together. Why don't we move the beds together so that we can all use it? Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 6. To learn theory, do I need to find a teacher? Chevron _ left. Use together. Seeing Cheng Xiao's shocked look, Xiao Wu couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed, but when she thought about sleeping without a quilt at night, she snorted and said, I'm not afraid of you. What are you afraid of? What? Are you such a timid boy? You. Cheng Xiao was choked by Xiao Wu and could not speak. Wang Sheng and others looked at them, their eyes full of envy. This was the only girl in the dormitory. Okay, come and make the bed. Taking advantage of Cheng Xiao's refusal, Xiao Wu quickly pushed the 2 beds together, then looked at her result and clapped her hands with satisfaction, and then smiled at Cheng Xiao. He waved his little hand. After making the bed, Cheng Xiao couldn't help but fell into deep thought as he looked at the connected beds. If Xiao Wu slept with him, what would Tang San do? Boss Cheng, Tang San, Sister Xiao Wu's new, let's go have lunch? Looking at the 3 people who had made the bed, Wang Sheng said to the 3 people. Hearing that he wanted to eat, Tang San shook his head and said, I don't have any money. I'll eat some dry food in the dormitory. You go and eat. Huh? Money? Is it that kind of soul coin? Xiao Wu asked curiously when he mentioned money. Xiao Wu's dumb words immediately made Wang Sheng feel ashamed. He finally understood that Tang San and Xiao Wu were both paupers. If they couldn't beat them, he would have wanted to curse them directly. Boss Cheng, don't you have any money? Wang Sheng came to Cheng Xiao and asked in a low voice. A little bit, but not much. Cheng Xiao muttered. When he came, his grandfather gave him some money, which was enough for eating. That's fine, it's better than nothing. Wang Sheng said excitedly when he heard that Cheng Xiao had money. We are all working study students. Although he has some money, it is only enough to treat 2 people to a meal. But if you treat 2 people, you can't leave the other person aside, right? Please invite Tang San and Xiao Wu. Cheng Xiao shook his head. He never liked to owe favors to others. Okay, Sister Xiao Wu, Tang San, let's go and have dinner. Wang Shenghao said angrily. Hearing this, Tang San hesitated for a moment, but still nodded in agreement. All his family's money was used by Tang Hao to exchange for wine. He was considered poor, but he would not refuse if someone invited him to dinner. As for Xiao Wu, she blinked her big watery eyes. Wang Sheng's heroic appearance also made her more fond of him, but what interested her was Cheng Xiao, who spent his own money to eat. Everyone was new here. As a work-study student, he's a little different. A few minutes later, under the leadership of Wang Sheng, Qisha and his group arrived at the cafeteria. The cafeteria was large enough to accommodate a total of 300 people from 6 classes and teachers to eat. As soon as Cheng Xiao and others entered the cafeteria, they heard a discordant voice. Aren't these the poor working study students? Wang Sheng, do you deserve to come to the cafeteria to eat? The sudden ridicule also stunned Qisha and others who had just entered the cafeteria. Looking at the source of the sound, they saw a group of senior college students standing on the stairs on the 1st and 2nd floors, looking down at them. Look over. The person who spoke was Xiao Qingyu, a school bully at Nanning College. Of course, a larger part of the reason was because he had a good father. Wang Sheng, you poor devils will only deserve to eat on the 1st floor in this life. As soon as Xiao Qingyu finished speaking, the younger brothers surrounding him burst into laughter. Listening to the harsh laughter, all the work-study students lowered their heads. They did not have as prominent backgrounds as the other students. Indeed, as Xiao Qingyu said, they could not afford the food on the 2nd floor. Seeing the senior students' provocative words, Xiao Wu became angry and replied, "Who do you think you are? What's so great about the 2nd floor? Hey, what a pretty little lowly, but she's a working study student. Wang Sheng, I'm gonna have dinner now. I'll let you poor working study students go first this time." Xiao Qingyu laughed. After saying that, the boys surrounding Xiao Qingyu walked towards the canteen on the 2nd floor, where they could order alone with a smile of victory. Seeing them preparing to leave, Xiao Wu, who was very angry, raised her foot and wanted to catch up, but was stopped by Tang San. "Forget it, Xiao Wu. We are here to eat. Are you so afraid of trouble?" Xiao Wu glanced at Tang San displeasedly, then looked at Cheng Xiao, who didn't speak. "This guy bullies us like this. Am I not doing the right thing?" "You did the right thing, but it was not the right time." Cheng Xiao glanced at Xiao Qingyu and the others and said calmly, "There's always a chance to beat them up, right?" Xiao Wu thought for a while and said, "What you said seems to make sense." Hearing this, Tang San also glanced at Cheng Xiao. What he said was not unreasonable, but from his adult perspective, this was just a group of children playing around. Besides, when faced with Xiao Wu's questioning, he didn't want to explain anything more. Despite thinking this way, Tang San still recited the Tang sect's rules silently in his heart. At this moment, Tang San saw an acquaintance and hurriedly walked up. "Teacher, you are here to eat too." "Yes, Xiao San, since you are here too, come with me to the 2nd floor to eat." The master touched Tang San's head and said, "2nd floor?" Tang San glanced at the direction of the 2nd floor. Xiao Qingyu's mocking words just now echoed in his mind. He looked at Cheng Xiao and others who were queuing up for meals, hesitated for a moment, and then said, "Teacher, I'd better eat together with my roommates." "Okay, then you wait for me at the door of the cafeteria after eating." After the master finished speaking, he walked straight to the 2nd floor. Seeing this scene, Wang Sheng patted the shoulder of Cheng Xiao, who was waiting in line to eat in front of him, and asked in a low voice, "Boss Cheng, does Tang San know the master?" Cheng Xiao nodded slightly and said, "Tang San became my master." "What? Tang San worships the master as his disciple." Wang Sheng was a little shocked, and coincidentally, his words were also heard by Tang San, who came to line up. "Sage Wang, is there anything wrong with me becoming my master?" Tang San frowned and asked. "Well, Tang San," Wang Sheng looked a little weird and hesitantly said, "The master's strength is not very good. It is said that he stayed in the academy because of his good relationship with the dean. To put it mildly, he is a freeloader who hasn't broken through level 29 at the age of 50. I suggest you find another teacher." Hearing this, Tang San looked serious, looked at Wang Sheng and said, "If you don't want to be knocked down by me again, please don't judge my teacher behind my back. This is the first and last time I think I don't need your treat." After saying that, Tang San turned around and walked towards the 2nd floor. Originally, he was worried that going to the 2nd floor for dinner with the master would cause dissatisfaction among his roommates, but now he no longer cares. Wang Sheng didn't expect Tang San's reaction to be so big. He was stunned for a moment. Xiao Wu and other students in the queue didn't understand why he was like this. Wang Sheng clearly reminded him with good intentions. After all, they've been at Nanning College for several years. They couldn't deceive a newly enrolled work-study student, right? Cheng Xiao, has Tang San always been like this? Xiao Wu asked doubtfully. "I don't know. Tang San and I are not familiar with each other. We just happened to meet each other when we were in school." Cheng Xiao shook his head and said, "Boss Cheng, you said that Tang San enrolled in school with you." Wang Sheng seemed to have thought of something. He worshipped the master as his disciple. Wouldn't you also worship the master as his disciple? As soon as these words came out, all the other work-study students, including Xiao Wu, looked at Cheng Xiao. No, Cheng Xiao didn't care and told him that when he entered school, the master wanted to accept him as his disciple. After listening to Cheng Xiao's talk, the work-study students and Qisha also packed their meals and sat together to discuss the master's behavior in a low voice. "Damn it, Boss Cheng, it's a good thing you're not interested in woohooing theory." Wang Sheng took a bite of the steamed bun and said while chewing, "Master's so-called woohooing theory is what the teacher will talk about when we are in class. It's just that it's just not as precise as what the master said." "Yes, that's right. The teacher will talk about martial arts theory in class. How can anyone who doesn't understand the theory go to apprentice as a teacher? Then why would he come to school?" "Boss Cheng, Sister Xiao Wu, you are all innate geniuses, but don't believe what the master says. We have a library at Nanning College to study theory. If you don't understand, you can ask the teacher in class. Really, there's no need to go to a teacher to learn theory." The work-study students and Qisha said something to each other over steamed buns and vegetable soup, which made me excited. Xiao Wu sat next to Cheng Xiao, listening to the gossip of her roommates, and then looked at Cheng Xiao, who only ate but did not talk. For some reason, she became more and more curious about Cheng Xiao. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 7, The Restless Xiao Wu. Chevron left. "Xiao San, did you have a conflict with your roommate?" The master said lightly, looking at Tang San, who was wolfing down food at the table. "Teacher, Tang San put down the chicken leg in his hand and hesitated to speak. "It's okay." As if seeing Tang San's embarrassment, the master said calmly, "Teacher doesn't care about those rumors, but you are growing up now, and you can't eat too bad food. From now on, you'll eat with me on the 2nd floor, and don't go to eat with him on the 1st floor." "Thank you, teacher." Tang San stood up and bowed deeply to the master. He didn't expect his teacher to be so noble and upright, and he was unmoved by those rumors. Such a person is worthy of being his teacher. "Okay, Xiao San, there is no need to be so troublesome between you and me as a master and apprentice." The master waved his hand and motioned Tang San to sit down and eat. Tang San nodded, sat back in his chair, and continued to feast. When he was in the Holy Soul Village, he couldn't even get enough food. He could only drink rice porridge that didn't even have any rice grains. Now, he met a teacher who was so good to him, which made him feel good about him and recognize the master more. At the same time, in the cafeteria on the 1st floor, After lunch, Cheng Xiao did not choose to go back to the dormitory first. Instead, after some inquiries, he came to the library of Notting Junior Soul Master Academy, intending to learn about the relevant knowledge before hunting soul rings. His martial soul did not belong to this world, so Cheng Xiao planned to take a look at the knowledge about soul beast types first. The Shadow King is the king of death, so the soul beast he is looking for should also be attributed to shadow or death. That is, soul beast with attributes related to the Shadow King's attributes. After learning about the knowledge related to the types and attributes of soul beasts, Cheng Xiao took a deep breath, put the books back on the bookshelf, and left the library quickly. However, after leaving the library, Cheng Xiao did not return to the dormitory, but ran to the academic affairs office of Notting College without stopping. He planned to ask the teachers of the college to take him to get the soul ring. Hello, is anyone here? Cheng Xiao walked into the academic affairs office and knocked on the door gently. Someone is here, come in. In the academic affairs office, an older teacher glanced at Cheng Xiao and signaled that he could come in. Cheng Xiao nodded and walked towards the older teacher. Your name is Cheng Xiao, right? I remember you, a genius with innate full soul power. Director Su recognized Cheng Xiao as the student with innate full soul power who just enrolled today and couldn't help but smile and said, what do you have to do in the academic affairs office? Cheng Xiao heard this and said, Director Su, I do have something to do. Then tell me, I'll see if I can help you. Director Su put down the documents he was processing. He attached great importance to students with innate full soul power like Cheng Xiao. Of course, if it were other part-time students, he would not have the heart to deal with a child with poor talent and no background. I want to get the first soul ring, Cheng Xiao said. The first soul ring, what? You want to get the first soul ring? Director Su stood up and said in a somewhat inappropriate manner, do you know that to get a soul ring, you need to reach the 10th level of soul power? How can you? Before he finished speaking, Director Su suddenly remembered that Cheng Xiao was born with full soul power, and then he coughed and changed his mouth. Cheng Xiao, I know you were born with full soul power, and you can indeed get the first soul ring, but So, Master Su explained the reason that the academy had just started and the teachers in the academy were busy and could not accompany Cheng Xiao to the soul hunting forest. After hearing this, Cheng Xiao also expressed his understanding, but his face was still full of disappointment. Director Su was a little helpless when he saw this. The academy had just started, and there were indeed many things to deal with, and the teachers were even more busy. How about this, Director Su? I will take this child to the soul hunting forest tomorrow. At this time, a middle-aged man wearing a black robe with a handsome appearance and a warm smile on his face walked in. Dean, why are you here? After seeing the newcomer, Director Su also hurriedly saluted the other party, and then said, this child is born with full soul power. Okay, Director Su. The middle-aged man waved his hand and smiled. I have read his information. He has a top beast martial soul and is born with full soul power. Such a genius appeared in our Notting College. As the dean, it would be unreasonable for me not to take a look. Director Su heard this, and his face was full of smiles. Let's go together tomorrow. It just so happens that I also want to take my disciples to hunt soul beasts and obtain soul rings. At this time, the master appeared at the door of the academic affairs office. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking profound. Okay, Xiaojing. The middle-aged man patted the master's shoulder and smiled. This time, your theory will definitely succeed. Of course, I received a good disciple. The master nodded and said calmly. It seemed that for him, receiving a disciple was as simple as studying the theory of martial spirits, but his eyes still fell on Cheng Xiao. Although he only stayed for a moment, Cheng Xiao still caught it. However, Cheng Xiao did not say much. Anyway, he also had to hunt for spirit rings. With the master, he could have more protection, although he didn't know if he could use it. Okay, that's it. The middle-aged man smiled and said to Cheng Xiao, you go back and rest first, and see you at the entrance of the academy tomorrow morning. I see. Thank you, Dean. Cheng Xiao thanked him politely and left the academic affairs office. After returning to the dormitory, Cheng Xiao saw Xiao Wu lying on the bed, shaking her legs. Cheng Xiao looked at the other beds and found that Wang Sheng and others were practicing soul power on the bed, while Tang San was lying on the bed with his eyes closed, probably preparing for tomorrow's soul hunting. Lying on the bed, Cheng Xiao did not pay attention to Xiao Wu beside him, but closed his eyes and began to think about the soul beast he would need when hunting soul rings tomorrow. Hey, why are you like Tang San, sleeping so early before night? Xiao Wu's voice suddenly sounded. Cheng Xiao was not asleep at all, so he subconsciously opened his eyes and happened to meet Xiao Wu's cute face. What? You didn't fall asleep at all? Xiao Wu looked at Cheng Xiao, who opened his eyes and pouted. What are you going to do when I fall asleep? Cheng Xiao sat up, leaning against the wall behind the bed, and said calmly, don't tell me you have something to do with me so late at night. I'm just a little bored. Seeing Cheng Xiao's face was not right, Xiao Wu muttered softly. Looking at Xiao Wu's expression that looked like I was wrong, Cheng Xiao couldn't help scratching his head and said, I'm going to the soul hunting forest to hunt souls tomorrow. I plan to go to bed early. Is that okay? Soul hunting. Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment. You're going to hunt souls before school starts. Is the soul ring so important? What do you think? Cheng Xiao flicked Xiao Wu's forehead in annoyance. Rest early. I have to get up early tomorrow. After that, Cheng Xiao lay down in the quilt, ignoring Xiao Wu, who was angrily covering her forehead, and closed his eyes to go to bed. However, Xiao Wu was unhappy. She looked at Cheng Xiao, who was sleeping under the quilt, bit her teeth, and thought to herself, you want to go to bed early, but I won't let you. Then, Xiao Wu seemed to have thought of something, and she also lifted the quilt and got into bed, but her restless little hands quietly reached for Cheng Xiao's waist, and it seemed that her plan was about to succeed. She also showed a smug smile on her face. See how Sister Xiao Wu will deal with you. There are too many things to do. Douluo, Soul Shadow. Chapter 8. Set out to Chevron_left Prev, next Chevron_right nights_stay. The next morning, when most of the teachers and students of Notting College were still asleep, two tall and two short figures had already left the gate of Notting College. Master, this is your new apprentice, right? The dean looked at Tang San, who was walking beside the master, and smiled. Yes, he's my disciple Tang San. San. The master nodded calmly and said, although Xiao San's martial soul is the blue silver grass with the name of useless martial soul, I believe that there are no useless martial souls in this world, only useless soul masters. With my martial soul theory teaching, his future achievements will at least be a titled Douluo. I hope so. The dean said with an awkward smile on his face. By the way, Dean, I don't know how to call you yet. Cheng Xiao looked up at the dean and asked. My last name is Ma. My first name is Nuo. You can call me Dean Ma. Dean Ma smiled. Okay, Dean Ma. Cheng Xiao said. I almost forgot. Cheng Xiao, you don't know where we're going to hunt soul beasts, right? Ma Nuo asked. I don't know. Cheng Xiao shook his head, expressing doubt. We are going to the soul hunting forest, 400 miles east of Notting City, where the Empire keeps soul beasts. Mano smiled. But before hunting soul beasts, we have to help the master prepare some things. Prepare things? Cheng Xiao was slightly stunned, and then seemed to remember something, and nodded silently. As the sun gradually rose from the east, more and more people were walking in Notting City, and the small vendors selling goods shouted their own products, which was very lively. The things prepared by the master were very simple. For leather bags, specially used for drinking water, and some dry food, bacon, fruits, etc. for eating on the road. Of course, the master also bought a full 20 kilograms of white radishes in the end, and these white radishes naturally had important uses. Teacher, what do you buy these white radishes for? Tang San held a basket of white radishes with great effort and asked the master breathlessly. If he had not practiced Xintian Gong, he might not be able to hold it. Looking at the 20 gene white radish, Mano sighed helplessly. As a friend of the master, he knew very well what these white radishes were used for. The master did not answer Tang San in time. As a theoretical master, he rarely showed a little bitterness at the corner of his mouth. He touched Tang San's head and said, "I'll tell you about this later." After everything was ready, Mano also hired a 4-person carriage in the city. After having the carriage, everyone set off towards the destination. Along the way, the master kept explaining the martial spirit theory to Tang San and also gave Tang San a blue belt. Looking at the belt in his hand, Tang San also named it the 24 Bridges Moonlit Night. There was no reason for Tang San to refuse the gift from the master. After all, the Tang sect where he lived in his previous life had the principle of giving and not refusing. After giving Tang San the belt, the corner of the master's eyes drifted towards Cheng Xiao. He wanted to let Cheng Xiao know that as long as he worshipped him as a teacher, he could also have the same gift as Tang San. But the master was destined to be disappointed. After Cheng Xiao got on the carriage, he leaned against one side and closed his eyes to rest. Even the Dean Manuel was puzzled. Could it be that this child didn't sleep well all night because he had to hunt soul rings today? How could they know that Xiao would try her best to prevent Cheng Xiao from going to bed so early last night? But Cheng Xiao was not interested in small tricks and did not react at all. Seeing that Cheng Xiao was immune to tickling, Xiao Wu could only pout and sleep. But it was because of sleeping that Cheng Xiao couldn't sleep, because after Xiao Wu fell asleep, The journey of 400 miles was not long, nor short. After the 4 people left Notting City, they arrived at the destination of this trip, the soul hunting forest, at noon the next day. After making up for sleep in the carriage, Cheng Xiao followed the Dean Manuel out of the carriage and heard various sounds in his ears. There's a warrant. Organize a group to hunt 100-year soul beasts. Soul masters who need soul rings. Come have a look. Hunting power soul beasts. 7 people waiting for the warrant. 10 gold soul coins. Similar shouts came one after another, and Cheng Xiao also had some preliminary understanding of this soul hunting forest. It is called the Soul Hunting Forest, but it is more like a game copy in an online game, and these shouting soul masters are more like mercenaries. The market was very noisy, and Cheng Xiao and his party walked out of the market quickly. When he saw the big forest in front of him, for some reason, his heart was faintly agitated, and a familiar feeling came to his heart. The shadow power in the body is boiling. Is it because of the feeling similar to when I leveled up alone and entered the dungeon? Cheng Xiao thought to himself. He is different from Cheng Xiao. The latter has a system created by the designer, which allows him to adapt to the power of the Shadow King in a way similar to a game, and the system itself is the power of the Shadow King. As for Cheng Xiao, since the designer of the manufacturing system was dead, the Shadow King chose another way to store his own power in his body. When his level increased and his strength became stronger, the shadow power in his body would be released step by step and become Cheng Xiao's power. There was a huge steel fence around the soul hunting forest, which was more than 10 meters high and looked very strong and solid. Outside the fence, more than 100 soldiers were roaming there, guarding the soul hunting forest where the Empire kept soul beasts. Let's go. In front of the soul hunting forest, Dean Mano handed a token to the guarding soldier. This black token was engraved with a strange pattern. It was composed of 3 patterns. In the center was a sharp sword, and on the left and right of the sword were a hammer and a dragon. After the soldier in charge of checking the warrant confirmed that it was correct, he quickly ordered other soldiers to open a passage and let Cheng Xiao and others into the soul hunting forest. After entering the soul hunting forest, the master's originally somewhat decadent eyes suddenly became bright, and his hands formed a mark on his chest. Come out, Luo Sanpao. 2 yellow soul rings rose from the master's feet, and then a soul power fluctuation came from his body. With a flash of purple light, a pig-like and dog-like creature appeared in front of the 4 people. Luo Sanpao has lavender hair, a pair of big ears drooping, and big deep blue eyes looking into the depths of the forest. His fat and bloated body makes him look stupid, and his appearance is different from that of a normal dog. If he must have a name, it must be a combination of pig and dog, pig-dog. Master, your martial soul is so special that it can even leave the body. Cheng Xiao squatted down, touched Luo Sanpao's head, and then smiled at the master. My martial soul has mutated, and it is the kind that is heading in a bad direction. The master shook his head with bitterness at the corners of his mouth. If it weren't for his innate soul power being less than half a level, how could he go further and further on the road of studying martial soul theory? But it's good that he received a genius disciple with full innate soul power and a twin martial soul. As long as Tang San is trained to be a strong man, who will dare to look down on him? You Xiao Zhang? Cheng Xiao, Master's martial soul is indeed special. From a certain perspective, Master is also a rare genius. It's a pity that things are unpredictable. Dean Mano sighed. He felt very sorry for the problem of his friend's martial soul. Okay, don't talk about my martial soul. The Master's face was serious, and he said seriously, let's hurry up to hunt souls. It's not easy to hunt a soul beast that suits your martial soul. After speaking, the Master gave an order to Luo Sanpao. Sanpao, open the way in front. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 9. My vision has never been wrong. Chevron left prep. After Luo Sanpao received the order from the Master, he walked towards the forest in front of him, shaking his head. Although his body was a little fat and bloated, he was quite agile when moving around with his 4 short legs. He was still sniffing as he walked. What? Pointing at Luo Sanpao, who was walking ahead to open the way, the Master looked at Tang San and said, Xiao San, haven't you always wanted to know what my martial spirit is? Hearing this, Tang San nodded. This is my martial spirit. It's called Luo Sanpao. Its characteristic is that it has a very sensitive sense of smell and can detect traces of low-level spirit beasts. It will be a great help to us in finding the spirit beasts we need to hunt. After saying that, the Master took out a short sword from his arms and handed it to Tang San. Due to the characteristics of the spirit beast spirit ring, only the spirit master, who personally killed the spirit beast, can absorb the spirit ring. Therefore, for the sake of safety, the Master gave this dagger that was completely blue in color to Tang San, so that after he found a suitable spirit beast, he could hunt it. At the same time, he was also telling Cheng Xiao how right it was for Tang San to become his disciple. However, Cheng Xiao's attention was not on the Master at all. After coming to the soul hunting forest, Cheng Xiao found that his martial soul, the Shadow King, seemed to be a little different. The power of shadow in his body seemed to be breaking through the bottleneck. But he was still didn't you get the first soul ring? Regarding the strange feeling coming from his body, Cheng Xiao could only suppress it in his heart for the time being. It seemed that he would hunt down a soul beast that suited him as soon as possible. As if he noticed something strange about Cheng Xiao, Dean Mano asked, Cheng Xiao, are you okay? It's okay, Dean. Cheng Xiao shook his head and did not say anything about the strangeness in his body. It was not that he didn't believe Mano, but that he was not a native of Douluo Continent, and his martial spirit was not inherited from his parents. If you come out, you will only cause more trouble for yourself. Okay, then tell me if you have any questions as soon as possible. Mano frowned and said, when we soul masters absorb the soul ring, we must adjust our own state. Otherwise, once something happens while absorbing the soul ring, make a mistake and your life will be ruined. Thank you, Dean, for reminding me. I understand. Cheng Xiao smiled and nodded, indicating that he understood. Seeing this, Mano stopped asking too much. He had already said what needed to be said. It was up to Cheng Xiao to decide how to do it. After walking for a while, Luo Sanpao, who was exploring the way ahead, suddenly stopped, staring in one direction with his big eyes and making a trembling sound from his mouth. Teacher, what happened to Sanpao? Seeing Luo Sanpao stop, Tang San looked at the master in confusion. Don't be nervous. The master smiled calmly, as if everything was under control. He pointed to the planet in front of him, which was so dark that it was difficult to see its appearance, and explained, we are quite lucky. We met when we first came in, 100-year-old soul, beast Shadow Vine. Shadow Vine. Tang San turned his gaze and landed on Cheng Xiao, saying, then wouldn't this plant-type soul beast be a martial spirit suitable for Cheng Xiao? You said that although Shadow Vine is a plant-type soul beast, it has a characteristic that many plants don't have, and that is sharpness. Yes, the Shadow Vine is a relatively special existence among plant-type soul beasts. Cheng Xiao, I remember that your martial spirit is the top-level beast martial spirit Shadow Soldier, right? The master looked at Cheng Xiao and said calmly, why don't you just take it? Let the Shadow Vine be your first soul ring. From my point of view, after you absorb it, you'll most likely gain a sharp skill. Master, it's better not to draw conclusions so early. Mano patted Master on the shoulder and said, the martial spirit of Cheng Xiao is a top-notch beast martial spirit that we have never seen before, even though it has the word shadow. But there is still the word soldier behind it. I think we should look for it again, preferably other types of soul beasts. What do you think? No, although Cheng Xiao's martial spirit is a top-notch beast martial spirit, this Shadow Vine can bring him a sharp soul skill. No matter how special his martial spirit is, it will not escape the possession of the beast martial spirit. With the sharpness of the Shadow Vine, his attack power will be greatly improved, the master said stubbornly. As a master of martial arts theory, his vision is unmistakable. Although he has never seen Cheng Xiao's martial soul, as long as it is a beast martial soul, it is no problem to obtain a sharp soul skill in the first soul ring. Ask Cheng Xiao for his opinion. Why is he the one who hunted for the soul ring? Mano was a little embarrassed when the master rebutted him face to face, but he still gave Cheng Xiao a chance to choose. My vision is never wrong, the master said calmly. Master, I still think what the dean said makes sense. Let's look for it again. Cheng Xiao thought for a while, but still rejected the master's proposal. Although what the master said sounds reasonable, it may not be applicable to him. The master did not expect that Cheng Xiao would refuse. His face immediately changed, and he said coldly, then you can see for yourself. After saying that, the master stopped looking at Cheng Xiao. A 6 or 7-year-old child actually refused his guidance on martial arts theory, and he went to explain it to him. Although his original intention was to accept him as his disciple, the other party refused repeatedly. Even if the clay figurine has 3 points of anger, let alone his generation of martial soul theory master? Seeing the scene in front of him, Tang San sighed inwardly. Cheng Xiao is really stupid. Teacher has been studying the theory of martial arts for decades. How could he make a mistake when choosing a soul ring? Cheng Xiao naturally didn't know what the master and Tang San were thinking, and he didn't have the ability to read minds. What's more, he really didn't want to absorb the Shadow Vine. Even if it was related to the martial soul attribute, it couldn't just be let's use the word shadow, right? Just then, Luo Sanpeio's cry sounded again. Due to the characteristics of his martial soul, the master immediately became alert and looked in another direction of the forest. There seems to be movement there. Everyone be careful. The master reminded coldly. What's wrong? Mano walked to the master's side and asked in confusion. It seems that a group of soul beasts are approaching us, and their cultivation is not low. The master was a little frightened, but still pretended to be calm. Hearing this, Dean Mano immediately released his martial soul rock shield, and 4 soul rings of white, yellow, and purple emerged from his feet, revealing the aura of a soul master of more than 40 levels. Mano's martial soul is an earth attribute weapon martial soul, rock shield, just like its name, a defensive weapon martial soul, but it's a pity that his innate full soul power is not high, and he didn't join any good forces when he was young, lacking resources for cultivation. He has barely reached the realm of soul master in half a lifetime, but in a small place like Notting City, it is still a rare talent. At this moment, both Cheng Xiao and Tang San understood what was about to happen because right in front of them, more than a dozen netherwolves were approaching them. And among the more than 10 netherwolves, a huge figure wrapped in black mist was slowly following behind the netherwolves. Seeing the huge figure wrapped in black mist, the 4 people present all held their breath. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 10, I would rather be Xiao Yin, and #7_left-prev. The creature in the black fog slowly revealed its true appearance. A wolf-shaped soul beast that was much larger than the netherwolf was grinning and showing its fangs. It's actually the netherwolf. The master's voice trembled uncontrollably. The netherwolf was black all over, and the black fog around it made it impossible to see clearly. It was about 4 meters long and huge. Its dark green eyes looked very creepy. Its tail hung behind it, and the black fog was lingering. The netherwolf was a mutant among the netherwolf. It had speed, strength, and commanding ability that the netherwolf did not have. It was a natural king of the wolf clan, and it also had the innate ability, the roar of the demon wolf. Xiao Gang. Although this beast cultivation has not exceeded 1,000 years, its strength is better than that of a 1,000-year soul beast. You take the 2 children and leave quickly. I will cover you, Dean Mano said in a low voice. The 4 soul rings on his body shone brightly. He raised his martial soul rock shield and rushed towards the netherwolf pack. Hearing this, a gleam flashed across the master's eyes. Without any hesitation, he took Tang San and Cheng Xiao's hands and ran in the direction they came from. Xiao San, the teacher will teach you a truth now. The more rings, the more bones. The more skills and power. The fewer rings, the fewer bones. Just run away. This truth is still useful even if you reach the realm of titled Douluo. The master did not forget to impart knowledge to Tang San while running. Okay, teacher, I understand. Tang San said seriously. Cheng Xiao, who was caught by the master and ran away, was very confused. What is this? Isn't it common sense for children to run away? Away if you can't beat them? Does running away need to be taught? That's too stupid, right? The master ran away very quickly, and the martial soul Luo Sanpao following behind him was also fast. He followed closely behind the 3 people with a pair of big eyes full of fear. For it, nothing is more important than saving its life. At the same time, Manua, who was fighting against the wolf pack alone, had already fallen into a disadvantage. Although he was a 4-ring soul master, his soul ring configuration was not the best. Moreover, he was not a strong attacking soul master, but a defensive soul master. Facing the continuous consumption attacks of the nether wolf pack, the soul power in his body was quickly swept away, and finally, he was easily knocked away by the nether wolf, which would not attack if it did not attack, but would solve the battle with 1 attack. He fell heavily under a big tree, and Manua's blood was churning in his body. He spit out a mouthful of bright red blood and looked helplessly at the nether wolf that was slowly approaching him. However, just when Manua thought he was about to be killed, he was hit and seriously injured. The nether wolf standing in front of him did not even look at him. After a loud roar, it actually ran alone in the direction where the master and others left. And the remaining 1 or 2 nether wolves saw their boss running away and immediately moved away from Manua. After all, the cultivation was only 100 years. Letting them face the soul master, wouldn't that be courting death? I actually survived? As if he had not expected that he would survive. Mano was a little dazed. You know, he had just prepared to die, but he didn't expect that the nether wolf would let him go and chase the master and the others. Although he didn't resist for too long, with the speed of the master's escape, he should have run very far, right? In the soul hunting forest, a large and 2 small figures shuttled through the shadows of the trees at a very fast speed. Many soul beasts were a little eager to move after seeing humans, but before they could take action, they were frightened by the breath of a wolf-shaped soul beast wrapped in black mist all over their body and froze in place, not daring to make any more moves. Teacher, the Netherwolf is catching up. Tang San, who was following the master, glanced at the black shadow behind him and shouted, Luo Sanpao, stop it. The master made a prompt decision and gave orders to his martial spirit. 2 soul rings rose up under the master's feet, and Luo Sanpao, who was following the 3 people, stopped immediately. Then his body began to swell, as if he was about to release a big move. However, the Netherwolf that followed the 3 people all the way ignored this little guy. With a wave of its sharp claws, the swollen Luo Sanpao flew directly into the bushes beside him like a deflated balloon, not knowing whether he would live or die. Because the martial soul and the host are one. When Luo Sanpao was injured, the escaping master only felt a pain in his abdomen, and his legs softened immediately, but there was still a Netherwolf following behind him, so he could only grit his teeth and continue to run, otherwise they would definitely not survive today. Teacher, are you okay? Noticing the master's abnormality, Tang San asked hurriedly. It's okay, Xiao San, let's run. The master's face was grim, and the pain in his abdomen continued to spread to his limbs. As long as we run out of the soul-hunting forest, we will be safe. Just as the master's voice fell, Tang San's eyes suddenly became sharp, and the corner of his eyes drifted to Cheng Xiao, who was also running, and he said in his heart, Cheng Xiao, don't blame me for being cruel. Since we are all going to die, it's better to sacrifice you. When my teacher and I are safe, I will definitely help you get revenge. By then, you can rest in peace if you know it in the afterlife. With a decision in his heart, Tang San quietly raised his left hand and shot a sleeve arrow at Cheng Xiao's thigh. Puff! The cold light passed through the air and shot straight at Cheng Xiao's thigh. However, Cheng Xiao, who was blessed by the power of shadow, instantly let go of the master's hand when he felt the crisis, paused, and forced his running body to stop, avoiding the cold arrow. How is it possible? Tang San was shocked. He didn't expect Cheng Xiao to dodge his silent sleeve arrow, but it didn't matter. His goal had been achieved. As long as Cheng Xiao held the Netherwolf for a while, he and the master would have enough time to run out of the soul-hunting forest, and then they could call for help. Xiao San, we don't need to care about him. Stopping at this time is tantamount to seeking death. Without caring why Cheng Xiao stopped, the master whispered to Tang San. Looking at the fast-running Tang San and his apprentice, Cheng Xiao's eyes flashed with a cold light. No wonder they said that they would rather be Xiao Yan's younger brother than Tang San's brother. Fortunately, his body was nourished by the power of shadow, and his physical fitness and reaction were greatly improved. Otherwise, the arrow just now would have been inserted into his thigh. Taking a deep breath, as Cheng Xiao turned around, the Netherwolf also stopped. Looking at the huge soul beast with black mist all over its body, Cheng Xiao's eyes turned cold, and his martial soul was released. Suddenly, the whole world seemed to be filled with a layer of black. With the release of the Spirit Shadow King, a dark purple light shone in the depths of Cheng Xiao's eyes, and then an incomparable breath of death burst out. Feeling this extremely terrifying breath of death, the Netherwolf was immediately scared. When the few people just stepped into the forest, it felt a breath that could make it evolve again. Although the breath was very weak, it also felt fear in the depths of its soul. But it was originally a mutation and evolution of the Netherwolf, and it knew the principle of trying to turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. Although it was afraid, if it succeeded, it would definitely become a more powerful existence. But now, there is only regret in its heart, because it felt the breath of death from the soul master in front of it, which it had never felt in its life. The human in front of it seemed to be the king who controlled death, the king of death. At the moment when Cheng Xiao released the spirit, a lot of information appeared in his mind. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 11, The King's Gift. Perseverance passive skill is activated when physical strength drops below 30%, and the damage taken is reduced by 50%. Recovery state, passive skill. After high-intensity exercise, take a certain degree of rest. The fatigue produced by the body will be eliminated, and the body will return to its peak. Sprint, active skill, movement speed increased by 30%. Hit the vital point. Melee attack skill, which can find flaws in the enemy and cause huge damage to the enemy. Throwing the dagger, a long-range attack skill. Throwing the dagger causes damage to the enemy. As the level increases, the hit rate and damage will also increase. This is covering his head with one hand. This sudden information made his mind slightly swollen. But soon, as his mind gradually returned to clarity, Cheng Xiao also woke up. It turns out that as Cheng Xiao becomes more and more compatible with the power of shadow, his level will become higher and higher. Just like Cheng Xiao, who owns the system, he will continue to upgrade, and after a certain level, the corresponding skills will also be obtained. The skills that came to mind were one of the many legacies left by the Shadow King to Cheng Xiao. At the same time, a dark purple soul ring with strange lines condensed on Cheng Xiao's body. This was not a soul ring from the Dole world, but a soul ring condensed by the power of shadow in his body. It was also a soul ring, proof of the king. The soul rings condensed by the power of shadow are not condensed according to the age, but based on the maximum number of years that Cheng Xiao's body can withstand. In other words, the soul rings condensed by the power of shadow will increase with Cheng Xiao's level. It improves with improvement, and this kind of soul ring is a growth-type soul ring. And the strength of Cheng Xiao's first soul ring is not that of 100 years, but that of 1,000 years. Although he has not taken any genius treasure to strengthen his body, how can a body nourished by the power of shadow have the physical fitness of an ordinary soul master? As the first soul ring slowly appeared on Cheng Xiao's body, the nether demon wolf suddenly felt a fear coming from the depths of his soul. The kind of fear transcended the bloodline and was completely suppressed by the life level. It was clear that the one ring soul master in front of him, to it is just a slap to death, but why does it feel an unspeakable death threat from this human being? Ouch! Knowing that if he did not move again, he would face death, the nether demon wolf looked up to the sky and howled, as if to soothe his young mind. Then, its wolf eyes stared at Cheng Xiao, its fangs exposed. He opened his bloody mouth and pounced on Cheng Xiao. However, facing the nether demonic wolf that opened its mouth and rushed towards him, Cheng Xiao raised his arm expressionlessly, stretched out his fingers, and a dark purple light shot out from his fingertips. As dark purple light emitted from the fingertips, the nether demon wolf's body paused, and a thumb-sized hole on the forehead of its head was filled with the aura of death. The next moment, the nether demon wolf's body fell weakly at Cheng Xiao's feet. There was deep horror in the widened wolf eyes. It never thought that it was just a first-level soul master. Kill it easily, even effortlessly. Of course, what the nether demon wolf didn't know was that the boy standing in front of it was not Cheng Xiao himself, but the Shadow King using his body because this was the power he had left in Cheng Xiao's body. Boom. All the power of the shadow swept out, and Cheng Xiao felt his body go limp. He immediately collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily, and the purple light that lit up in the depths of his eyes slowly dissipated at this moment. Bye! At this moment, a cold voice without any emotion suddenly appeared in Cheng Xiao's mind. The system administrator has died. You do not have the authority of a system player. Redefine your identity, the successor of the 3 generations of kings. The gifts left by the kings have been distributed. I wish you good luck. The title of Wolf Slayer has been obtained. When the opponent's beast-type soul beast is used, all ability values will be increased by 40%. Unknown skill max. Passive skill, the effect is unknown. The coming of the king from another world, used. Temporary recovery state. Instantly restore peak state, used. The next moment, Cheng Xiao felt that the lack of soul power in his body was recovering at a terrifying speed. Then, an indescribable sense of comfort surged into his heart. This feeling could not be described in words, as if it was deep in the clouds, and it was as if I had entered some kind of peak of bliss, so uncomfortable. I don't know how long this comfortable feeling passed. When Cheng Xiao slowly opened his eyes, it was already dark. He turned over and got up from the ground. Cheng Xiao was surprised to find that his body seemed to be due to the concentration of soul rings. Because of this, some changes have taken place. The originally strong body has grown a lot taller, and even the delicate face has become a bit more handsome. Looking down at his arms, even though it was dark, he could still see the fundamental changes in his skin. To put it bluntly, it was like a body wash. It seems that the novice gift package left to me by the Shadow King has ended. Cheng Xiao released his martial spirit again, but this time the previous strangeness did not appear again. But in his right palm, a dark purple-black smoke lingered among them. There seemed to be countless roars of the undead and loyal whispers in the dark purple smoke. After taking back his martial spirit, Cheng Xiao immediately sat down cross-legged. The large amount of information in his mind made him unable to digest it for a while. Skills such as sprinting, hitting vital points, and throwing daggers all gave him a feeling of being familiar with the process, but he had not really used them, so at the moment he urgently needed to digest this information. And right in front of Cheng Xiao, a burst of black smoke slowly rose from the body of the netherwolf that was killed by the Shadow King. Before it took shape, it seemed to be induced by something and turned into a black shadow and drilled into Cheng Xiao's shadow. As the black smoke drilled into Cheng Xiao's shadow, a circle of yellow circles gradually rose on the body of the netherwolf. This was the yellow 100-year soul ring produced by the netherwolf, but the energy it produced was abnormally thin. From the perspective of energy reaction, it seemed to be not as good as the energy produced by the soul ring of a 10-year soul beast. After it was completely dark, Tang San and his apprentice, who left Cheng Xiao behind to escape, were not very lucky. Because the master had been running while enduring the pain, his physical strength was quickly exhausted. The original plan to leave the soul hunting forest to call for help was temporarily shelved. Seeing that the netherwolf had not caught up with them, they chose to rest under a big tree and wait until they had recovered some strength before leaving the soul hunting forest. In the dark forest, the first thing that caught their eyes was a temporary bonfire. The pale yellow flames burned the firewood, making crackling sounds. Tang San and his disciples sat around the bonfire, their faces pale. Obviously, the escape was not pleasant. Even if they successfully escaped the pursuit of the nether wolf, they were still exhausted. Chevron _ left previous home index, next Chevron _ right. You also like Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 12 Tang San kills his master. Chevron _ left. Xiao San, take out a few white radishes from the 24 Bridges moonlit night that I gave you and feed them to San Pao. The master said somewhat listlessly. Okay, teacher. Tang San nodded in agreement. He stretched out his hand to the 24 Bridges moonlit night, took out the white radishes that had been placed in advance, and threw them to the martial soul Luo San Pao who was lying at the master's feet. Duo. Seeing the white radishes, Luo San Pao was immediately excited, picked up the white radishes, and quickly ate them up. Seeing this, Tang San couldn't help but feel ashamed. Now he knew why the master took him to buy white radishes. It turned out that he bought them for his martial soul. However, looking at Luo San Pao eating white radish, Tang San couldn't help but be curious. Teacher, every time San Pao releases soul skills, does he have to eat white radish? Hearing this, the master's stiff face changed slightly, and he smiled bitterly. San Pao's means of attack is farting, and white radish is very practical in catalyzing farts. After San Pao eats a few white radishes, he can quickly replenish energy, and the number of times he uses soul skills can be restored faster accordingly. Is this okay? Tang San wanted to laugh, but seeing the bitterness in the master's eyes, he still forced himself to hold it back. A master of martial soul theory, who talks a lot, but ends up using farts as a means of attack. How embarrassing is this in the soul master world? What an explosive thing. But in the final analysis, it's also because the master is too useless. If his talent is a little better, his martial soul will not undergo malignant mutations due to insufficient innate soul power. As for his so-called martial soul theory, he has studied it for so many years. In addition to knowing some soul beasts, what else does he know? If you know that it is your lack of talent that causes your martial soul to mutate, you should try your best to find a solution, right? La. At this moment, Luo San Pao's urgent call suddenly sounded. The surroundings suddenly became quiet, and a rustling sound was clearly transmitted to Tang San's ears. Indistinctly, he seemed to smell a little more fishy and sweet in the air. The moment he smelled this smell, Tang San subconsciously blurted out, "Teacher, be careful. It seems to be poisonous." Then, Tang San urged the Xintian Gong and operated the purple level magic pupil to the extreme. Looking in the direction of the sound, he seemed to see a dark green 3-character snake head standing up in the bushes, and a pair of ruby-like eyes were looking at them. "Teacher, it's a snake," Tang San reminded the master, and then quickly took out a fire starter from the 24 Bridges Moon Knight and threw it at the triangular snake head that stuck out its head. The fire starter burned in the wind, illuminating the area shrouded in darkness. "Oh no, it's a mandragora snake." With the light, the master saw the existence of the snake head and said in a deep voice, "Manhua, the old guy, is not around. We are unlucky to encounter this mandragora snake. Teacher, what should we do?" Tang San asked in a low voice. "Xiao San, do as I taught you go," the master shouted loudly. At the same time, Cheng Xiao, who had sorted out his thoughts, also walked to the periphery of the soul hunting forest. On the way, he also met the seriously injured Dean Manhua. Seeing that Cheng Xiao was fine, Manhua asked where Tang San and his apprentice had gone. After all, the three of them escaped together at the beginning. Now only Cheng Xiao was seen. As the dean, he had to ask. Facing Manhua's question, Cheng Xiao's mind suddenly recalled the scene in which Tang San wanted to leave himself to deal with the soul beast in order to escape with his teacher. If he was not a local, I'm afraid that if it were someone else, he would really die in the mouth of the soul beast without knowing why. Taking a deep breath, Cheng Xiao still chose to conceal the matter, because even if he told Manhua the truth, he might not believe it. Not to mention the relationship between the master and him. Just Tang San's behavior. Manhua would not believe him. Whose 6-year-old child would do such a thing? You know, children in Douluo Continent awaken their martial spirits at the age of 6. Can a child who has just awakened his martial spirit do such a thing that is worse than an animal? The answer is obviously no, but Tang San can't? How is that possible? Along the way, after Cheng Xiao's false and true deception, Dean Manhua believed the statement that the three people were separated. After all, at the beginning, he was the one who stayed behind to cover the rear, and he was very clear about the strength of the nether demon wolf. So, Manhua, who believed Cheng Xiao's words, was ready to leave the soul hunting forest to call for help. But when the two passed a silent bush, they heard a loud shout. What's the sound? Manhua was stunned for a moment and looked in the direction of the sound. Xiao San, hurry up! It's Master and Tang San. Mano rushed over after hearing the voice. Seeing this, Cheng Xiao shrugged helplessly and followed. The two followed the source of the sound through the bushes, and indeed saw the figures of Master and Tang San. But just opposite them, a snake-like soul beast spitting out snake tongue was staring at the two. It's It's a mandragorous snake. Mano recognized the soul beast. He didn't expect that this soul hunting would be so unlucky. First, he encountered a mutant individual of the netherwolf and luckily saved his life. Now he encountered a 100-year-old mandragorous snake. This bad luck really didn't check the almanac before going out. Xiao San, Master, run to my side. Let's go quickly. The sudden shout startled Tang San and Master, who were preparing to fight the mandragorous snake. They looked in the direction of the sound at the same time and saw Mano waving at them, still shouting for them to run. But the mandragorous snake obviously did not intend to let go of these two weak prey. It shrank and instantly bounced towards Tang San beside Master. For some reason, Master was a 2-ring spirit master, but this child without a spirit ring gave it a sense of threat. No, it's coming for me. Tang San's eyes turned cold, and the Shintian gong in his body was activated to his legs. The leg muscles exerted force, and he jumped into the air. Then his body turned in the air, and his left hand was secretly raised, and a sharp black light shot out. That was the Tang sect hidden weapon in his left hand, the silent sleeve arrow. Seeing this, the mandragorous snake stopped its body forcibly. Before it could make a defensive posture, the black light that shot out rapidly had already pierced into its left eye. The mandragorous snake spit out its tongue frantically, as if this could ease the pain in its eyes, but soon, Tang San shot several more hidden arrows, heading straight for the mandragora's vital point. The mandragorous snake, which had suffered a loss, dodged the flying hidden arrows and was about to make a move, but saw Tang San approaching it with a dagger in his hand. What the mandragorous snake didn't know was that before approaching it, Tang San had already condensed all the Shintian functions in his body on the dagger. His palm flashed with blue light, and his figure quickly approached the mandragorous snake under the blessing of the ghost shadow. The mandragorous snake opened its mouth and wanted to swallow Tang San, but Tang San was agile and seized the opportunity to plunge a sword into its open mouth. The next moment, the mandragorous snake's body trembled violently, and it unwillingly swept its tail towards Tang San, but was dodged again by Tang San's weird steps. Seeing Tang San's dangerous action, Master hurriedly shouted, "Xiao San, come back quickly, it's too dangerous." After thrusting out a sword with all his strength, facing the attack of the snake tail of the mandragorous snake, Tang San used the ghost shadow to quickly pull away. After hearing the call of Master, he deliberately stumbled and fell to the ground. At this moment, Tang San had only one thought in his mind, that his master and demon had seen everything he did. His soul did not belong to this world. Everything he had just performed could not be known to the two of them, so they could only be unable to speak again. Originally, Tang San did not intend to use the Tang sect's unique skills after seeing Mana, but seeing that the other party did not come up to help and asked the two to run fast, he deduced that the other party must have been seriously injured. Otherwise, he would never let the two run fast. It was precisely because of this conjecture that Tang San had the idea of killing the two people to silence them. He believed that with the speed and power of his Tang sect's hidden weapon, the silent sleeve arrow, killing the two injured people would be easy. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 13, Let Us Believe in Tang San. Chevron left. Just when Tang San was thinking about how to kill the two, the master didn't think much, stepped forward and helped Tang San up, and said with a worried look, "Xiao San, are you okay?" Tang San was still hesitating whether to kill the master, but once he did so, he would do it to the end. After all, his identity was here. No one could know that his soul did not belong to this world. But seeing the worry in the master's eyes, Tang San raised his left hand with the sleeve arrow and quietly put it down. "Tang San, Master, are you okay?" Mano also came over at this time, and Cheng Xiao followed behind him. "Xiao San, why did you let go just now? Do you know how dangerous this is? I can't see your figure in the dark night." The master scolded. Hearing this, Tang San's heart finally fell. If the master said he saw something, maybe he would really kill the master secretly, but since the master didn't see it, forget it. Regardless of whether the master has the same vision as his purple magic pupil, Tang San has been observing the expression on the master's face just now. The worry in the other's eyes does not seem to be deliberately pretended. "I'm sorry, teacher." Tang San acted up, panting heavily, and said, "I just waved the dagger you gave me randomly, and it seems that I stabbed the mandragorous snake. I was really scared." Hearing this, the master turned his head to look at the mandragorous snake whose breath was getting weaker and weaker. His face began to change from panic to ecstasy and said, "Great, Xiao San, your spirit ring has been found." Spirit ring. Tang San was slightly stunned and said in surprise, "Teacher, you won't let me absorb the spirit ring of this snake, right?" "Yes, absorbing the spirit ring of the mandragorous snake will bring you an entanglement spirit skill, and it will also be accompanied by some of the mandragorous snake's toxins." The master said seriously, "Tang San, just listen to your teacher." Manoa nodded and said, "After you absorb the spirit ring, let's go help Cheng Xiao hunt spirits." Cheng Xiao. Tang San was shocked. Did Cheng Xiao survive? Hearing this, Cheng Xiao walked out from behind Manoa and smiled at Tang San. "Tang San, just listen to the master. His theory will never be wrong." "Yes, Xiao San, hurry up and absorb the spirit ring of this mandragorous snake," the master urged. Although Tang San believed in the master's theory, for some reason, he heard a sense of impatience from Cheng Xiao's words, as if the person who was about to absorb the spirit ring was Cheng Xiao, not him, Tang San. To be on the safe side, Tang San still asked the master about his doubts. "Teacher, my martial soul is a plant, so would it be better for me to absorb the spirit ring of a plant-type spirit beast?" Hearing this, the master was a little unhappy, but after thinking about it, Tang San's words made sense, so he simply explained it on the spot and made Tang San understand the importance of martial soul theory. The master took a deep breath and said slowly, "Among the 10 core competition theories of martial spirits that I studied, one of them is that plant martial spirits may not be unable to absorb the spirit rings of animal spirit beasts. The toughness effect and toxicity required by your blue silvergrass are possessed by this mandragorous snake. But if I absorb it, will there really be no conflict?" Tang San still felt unsafe. The master looked at Tang San deeply and said in a deep voice, "Xiao San, whether it is an ordinary spirit master or those guys in the spirit hall, they all poke their noses at my 10 core competition theories and no one believes them. However, even if no one has tried my theory, practice is the only truth, and the only criterion for testing the truth is to try it. Xiao San, are you willing to try it?" Tang San saw the fanaticism in the master's eyes. He guessed that he was a twin martial spirit based on only a martial spirit theory proof, and he was also a pioneer in the study of martial spirit theory. How could he not believe him? Tang San respected the master's martial soul theory from the bottom of his heart. His previous suspicion was just because of the influence of Cheng Xiao's words, but now he planned to really practice according to the master's theory, and this was what he should do as a disciple. "Teacher, I'm willing." Tang San took a deep breath and said seriously, "Let me help you practice the martial soul theory. I believe that your years of research on martial soul theory will never be wrong." "Okay, you are worthy of being my disciple." The master heard the words and looked at Tang San with relief in his eyes. "See, this is my disciple Yu Xiaojang, who is willing to practice my martial soul theory knowledge. Those soul masters who don't understand my martial soul theory can wait and see. My disciple Yu Xiaojang will definitely become the top powerhouse on the continent in the future." Tang San took a deep breath, slowly raised his right hand, and slowly condensed the remaining soul power in his body into his palm. With a light blue halo, blue silver grass grew out of his palm. Under the guidance of the light blue light, Mandragora's spirit ring flew towards Tang San, then suddenly shrank and solidified on his body. Then, Tang San felt a warm current flowing into his body, and in this strange feeling, he slowly closed his eyes. Seeing Tang San absorb the spirit ring, the master who was holding onto his body also lay on the ground at this moment. When he just confronted the mandragora snake, his martial soul Luo Sanpao was unfortunately bitten. At this moment, the poison took effect, and the spirit that was forced to be raised became blurred and fell into a coma. Xiaojing, seeing the master fainted, Manuel hurried to his side, supported his body against a big tree nearby, and then felt his pulse for him. It's okay, it's okay. Looking at the master's purple and black face, Mano breathed a sigh of relief and said, fortunately, he was just poisoned by snake venom, and he can still be saved. Dean Mano, please detoxify the master quickly. Cheng Xiao couldn't bear to look at the master's tragic situation. It was not that he was overly sympathetic, but that the master's current appearance really made people feel uncomfortable. The black and purple face looked like a pustule that was about to explode in the next second. He looked away in disgust. Cheng Xiao stopped looking at the master to prevent himself from being disgusted. It's not that he has any prejudice against the master, but the scene that happened before him is no good even if he is not prejudiced. He was a good teacher, brought his students to hunt for souls, and was almost killed by the soul beast in the end. Even if Cheng Xiao had no prejudice against the master before, he had to have it now. Okay, Mano responded, and immediately opened the master's clothes and began to inspect them carefully. After a moment, Mano withdrew his hand with a stiff face, as if he had encountered some inexplicable obstacle. Dean, what's wrong? Cheng Xiao asked doubtfully. No, it's okay. Mano waved his hand in embarrassment. After a series of inspections, he found that the root of the master's thigh was the place where the poisoning was deepest. What should we do? Mano looked at the place where the master was poisoned and couldn't help but hesitate. Although he and the master are good friends, isn't the poison area too embarrassing? It was too difficult for him, an older man, to help him detoxify. But if he uses his soul power to force the toxins out, some unexpected things will inevitably happen. After all, he's not too young. He really can't do such a delicate job as soul power control. If he makes a mistake, what should I do if I make the master into an immortal? Dean, let Tang San come after he's finished absorbing it. Just when Mano hesitated, Cheng Xiao suddenly said, no, Tang San is still just a child, so I may not be as sure as I am about letting him come. Hearing this, Mano shook his head decisively. If Tang San came, it would be better to let him come. Dean, let Tang San do it. Cheng Xiao smiled. When we defeated the mandala snake just now, Tang San put in a lot of effort, even though he killed the mandala snake in panic. Snake, but judging from his performance, he has talents that are different from ordinary people. Dean, let us trust Tang San. What's more, he and the master are master and disciple. Douluo, Soul Shadow King. Chapter 14. Tang San uses his mouth to remove poison. Chevron left prep. Hearing this, Mano was also a little shaken. What Cheng Xiao said was not without reason. Although Tang San killed the mandragora snake in a hurry, it can be seen from this aspect that he is different from ordinary people. Let him detoxify the master. It is not a bad idea. After a little hesitation, Mano's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he said solemnly, okay, Cheng Xiao, just as you said, let the master's disciple Tang San come and detoxify himself. Hearing this, Cheng Xiao's face also showed a smile. Tang San, you worship the master as your teacher. I think you could do the small matter of detoxifying the master, right? Originally, Cheng Xiao had a good impression of Tang San, but the previous escape made a great change in his impression of Tang San. Since you are unkind, don't blame me for being unjust. The current strength is not enough to kill Tang San, but in terms of disgusting people, Cheng Xiao claims that there is no problem. Since the master is your teacher, it is not too much for you to help him detoxify the embarrassing parts, right? A few hours later, Tang San, who had absorbed the soul ring, slowly opened his eyes, feeling the abundant soul power in his body, and couldn't help but smile. Teacher's theory is successful. My blue silver grass has obtained entanglement skill. When Tang San's eyes found the master, he widened his eyes. The master leaned against the tree. His body seemed to be stiff, motionless, and his face was entangled with black air, as if he was breathing more and less. Poison. Seeing this scene, Tang San blurted out, Tang San, you wake up. Seeing Tang San wake up, Manhua said happily, quick, Xiao San, your teacher is poisoned. You use soul power to force the poison out of his body. Tang San was a little confused when he heard this, right? As the dean, you don't help your teacher detoxify, you wait for me to wake up and detoxify the teacher? Ignoring Tang San's confusion, Manhua took Tang San's hand and told his reasons. Of course, he inevitably mentioned an embarrassing part of the poison in his words. After hearing this, Tang San's originally surprised face became extremely stiff. He looked at the unconscious master and suddenly felt like killing someone. It was nonsense to ask him to suck out the toxins in the master's body with his mouth. But Tang San was a man who respected his teacher. Since he had worshipped the master as his teacher, the master was his second father. Now that his father was poisoned, how could he not detoxify him as a son? Then, Tang San, who had made up his mind, resolutely tore open the master's clothes, revealing the embarrassing poison part hidden deep inside, and then held his breath and stuck it on with gritted teeth. The moment he stuck it on, a fishy smell came to his heart. Tang San endured the physical discomfort, urged the Xintian Gong in his body, and began to help the master absorb the toxins. As Mano said, this part was too embarrassing, and he couldn't use conventional means to detoxify. In desperation, he could only choose to use his mouth. Xintian Gong, as the highest internal skill of Tang sect, has a strong detoxification effect. It is for this reason that Tang San dared to help master absorb the toxin. If it were any other soul master, he would be poisoned if he was not careful. Dean, do you think I am right? Looking at the scene in front of him, Cheng Xiao suppressed a smile and whispered, yes, Cheng Xiao, I didn't expect that you were young but have a sharp vision. Seeing Tang San wholeheartedly detoxifying master, Manhua, the dean, touched his chin and said, Dean, let's wait until master wakes up and go back. Cheng Xiao said, but your soul ring, Manhua said with embarrassment. Dean, to be honest, when we separated, I was lucky enough to encounter a 100-year-old soul beast that was seriously injured by the nether demon wolf. In order not to trouble everyone again, I absorbed it, Cheng Xiao said without blinking or panicking. Good boy, you are really lucky. Manhua patted Cheng Xiao's shoulder happily, without doubting the truth of Cheng Xiao's words. After a while, Tang San, who sucked out the poison from the master's body, collapsed on the ground. He looked at the poisonous blood spit out beside him, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the snake venom was eliminated, the master would be out of danger. Seeing that the master's face gradually turned from black and purple to pale, Manhua also showed a touch of joy on his face. He looked at Tang San, who was panting heavily, and said, Xiao San, take a rest for a while. We will quickly send the master back to Nani City. Although the toxin has been sucked out by you, it is best to find a healing spirit master to check his body. The master's strength is not strong. I am afraid that there will be some sequelae or something. Okay, Dean. Tang San nodded with cold sweat on his forehead. After a while, Manhua carried the master and took Cheng Xiao and Tang San to leave the soul hunting force quickly. Fortunately, Mano recovered some of his strength, and the four did not encounter any powerful soul beasts on the way out. Some 10-year soul beasts were frightened and ran away when they saw the four, but they were safe. After the four left the soul-hunting forest, Mano rented a carriage at the market before entering the forest. After paying a few more silver soul coins, the driver drove the carriage towards Notting City. After returning to Notting City, Dean Mano used his connections to find a healing soul master from Master to heal his injuries. After the healing soul master's treatment, Master woke up quickly. After Master woke up, the happiest person was Tang San. He looked at Master, who opened his eyes and was naturally very happy. As for Cheng Xiao, who came back with him, he did not go back to the dormitory immediately, but came to the back mountain of Notting College. It was quiet in the woods, and there was no one else except Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao looked at the dark purple soul ring hovering under his feet and couldn't help but fell into silence. Although the first soul ring of 1,000 years was still a growth soul ring, it sounded ridiculous, but you must know that before he grew up, he would be too ostentatious, causing some troublesome things. And this trouble is the dark purple soul ring slowly rotating under Cheng Xiao's feet. On the way back to Notting College, Cheng Xiao has been thinking, if people find out that his first soul ring is not yellow, but the 1,000-year-old purple, will it cause some fatal disasters? After all, if the wind is as beautiful as the forest, the wind will destroy it. If possible, he doesn't want to make himself too ostentatious. Now he can't even summon shadow soldiers. According to Cheng Xiao's idea, he must be at least level 30 or even level 40. Only then can you obtain professional specific skills. Because he clearly remembered that when Cheng Xiao completed the job transformation, his own strength was very good, but the shadow soldiers he summoned were much lower than him. Although the shadow soldiers will increase with the strength of the king. If Cheng Xiao were to summon the shadow soldiers now, would he be summoning a group of cannon fodder that does not exceed level 10? Of course, if Cheng Xiao summoned shadow soldiers at level 40 or even 50, then their level will not be much lower no matter how low it is. At best, when he is level 50, the shadow soldiers will be level 40 or even higher. The level of shadow soldiers will not exceed the king himself. In other words, it is not that he cannot summon shadow soldiers now, but his strength is too low. Even if he summons shadow soldiers, then they're just a group of cannon fodder that constantly consumes soul power. That's it. It has no use. Cheng Xiao doesn't plan to consider this now. Although summoning shadow soldiers is necessary, it is not at this stage. The only thing he has to do now is to try his best to hide the color of his soul ring. Just when Cheng Xiao was thinking about how to solve it, a cold female voice without any emotion suddenly appeared in his mind. Perceiving the strong will of the successor of the third generation king, you have obtained the passive skill disguise. No one except you can see the true appearance of your soul ring. Douluo, Soul Chapter 15, Chevron left press. This, is it solved now? Cheng Xiao was a little confused. He had planned not to release his spirit in battle to prevent himself from being targeted by some people with ulterior motives. What happened? He hadn't figured out a solution yet, but the Shadow King solved it easily? It's good to have a backer. Cheng Xiao couldn't help but sigh. He didn't doubt the authenticity of the voice in his mind. The power of the Shadow King was unimaginable. It was just a simple modification of the spirit ring color, which was not difficult for him. After solving the problem of the spirit ring color, Cheng Xiao planned to go to the Spirit Hall in Notting City for a Spirit Master appraisal and collect the Spirit Master subsidy. Although he rejected Brother Tao's proposal to join the Spirit Hall, it did not mean that he disliked the Spirit Hall. On the contrary, he still had a good impression of the Spirit Hall. Of course, this good impression did not come from the Spirit Hall itself, but from the Spirit Hall deacons who traveled thousands of miles to awaken the spirits of civilians in more than a dozen villages. In fact, to put it bluntly, there was no problem with the Spirit Hall itself, but only with the people at the top. Boss Xiao, those part-time students are so shameless. Let me go first and I'll beat them to a pulp. Lu Long, since you volunteered, you'll have the first fight. I guess the first part-time student to go on the field will be Wang Sheng. Beat him up. Ling Feng, you go on the second field and let those ignorant part-time students know what it means to be the fastest in Notting College. Boss, that little rabbit looks good. Do you think you can? Don't worry. Follow me, Boss Xiao. I have fun, and you all have fun. Boss Xiao is awesome. Boss Xiao. Boss Xiao. Just when Cheng Xiao was about to leave, a noisy voice suddenly came from outside the grove. Cheng Xiao paused and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a team of more than 20 seniors walking slowly towards him. The leader, wearing the uniform of Notting Junior Soul Master College, was tall and straight. Needless to say, this was the boss of Notting College, Xiao Chenyu. No, you are the only one among you who came here as a part-time student. Xiao Chenyu looked at Cheng Xiao, who was the only one standing here, and couldn't help but show a fierce look on his face, and shouted angrily. You part-time students don't take me seriously, right? Lu Long, go and beat him up. Hearing this, Lu Long, who was following Xiao Chenyu, immediately came out. Question mark. Cheng Xiao was slightly startled, looking at Xiao Chenyu's ferocious appearance, and then looked at Lu Long, who stood up and spit out two words expressionlessly. You are sick. You dare to say, I'm sick? Xiao Chenyu widened his eyes. Lu Long, what are you still standing there for? Beat him up quickly. It would be best if his parents don't recognize him. Lu Long nodded, and then a yellow light shone on his body, and a long stick more than 2 meters long instantly appeared in his hand. He stepped forward quickly, and the long stick in his hand covered his head and smashed straight at Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao did not dodge, and let Lu Long's long stick attack him. When it was about to hit him, a dark purple soul power light suddenly lit up on his body, and he stretched out his right hand and grasped the opponent's fierce long stick. Dare to use your hands to catch my martial soul? Lu Long was stunned at first, and then said disdainfully, you don't even have the most basic common sense, and you should go home to your mother as a part-time student. As the voice fell, dark purple-black mist spread from Cheng Xiao's palm. Lu Long was startled at first, and was about to pull back the long stick, but found that Cheng Xiao's eyes were actually lit up with purple light. The next second, with a muffled bang, Cheng Xiao's fist had hit his abdomen, and a sharp pain came from his abdomen. Lu Long's body softened, and he actually knelt directly in front of Cheng Xiao, holding his abdomen and breathing heavily, as if this could relieve him from some pain. Seeing this, Cheng Xiao did not continue to attack Lu Long. He had just transferred his soul power to his fist. The abdomen is a vulnerable part of the human body. This punch was enough to make him lose his ability to move. Too weak. Cheng Xiao looked at Xiao Chenyu, who looked incredulous, and raised his hand provocatively. Damn, you don't show your power and think we are sick cats, right? Seeing Cheng Xiao's provocative look, Xiao Chenyu immediately burst into swear words. Ling Feng, kill him for me. I want him to know the consequences of pretending to be powerful. Following Xiao Chenyu's order, his other little brother Ling Feng suddenly soared into the air. Then, a faint light shone on his body, and he immediately turned over in the air, spread his arms, and pounced towards Cheng Xiao in a gliding posture. Looking at Ling Feng, who was rushing towards him, Cheng Xiao was too lazy to move. There was no need to dodge this attack method full of flaws. Dare to underestimate me. Ling Feng was angry when he saw that Cheng Xiao did not take him seriously. However, just when Ling Feng was about to touch Cheng Xiao's eyes lit up slightly. At this moment, in Cheng Xiao's eyes, Ling Feng was full of flaws. Hit the vital point. With a low shout that only he could hear, Cheng Xiao turned his body to the side, grabbed Ling Feng's arms with both hands, and smashed him to the ground with the inertia of his rush. Then, without waiting for Ling Feng to get up, Cheng Xiao flashed behind him, grabbed the back of his neck, and spun him hard, and used the power of inertia to throw him up again. Ling Feng fell heavily several meters away, and no one caught him. His eyes went black, and he fainted. Watching Ling Feng fly several meters away, Cheng Xiao was quite satisfied. The effect of hitting vital points and finding flaws was far more powerful than he imagined. If he really attacked Ling Feng's weakness, he might not just faint. Seeing that his two powerful men were defeated by Cheng Xiao, Xiao Chenyu's eyes were full of disbelief. He didn't expect that a new work-study student who had just entered school could have such strength. It was really terrifying. Even Ling Feng lost. Are today's work-study students so fierce? Boss Xiao, why don't we avoid the edge for a while? I always feel that this work-study student is not easy to mess with. Don't talk nonsense. Our boss Xiao is a first-level soul master. Isn't it easy to kill a work-study student? Hearing the noise of the crowd, Xiao Chenyu's face darkened. He looked at Cheng Xiao with a calm expression and couldn't help but clench his fists. Still not convinced? Cheng Xiao saw Xiao Chenyu's clenched fists, raised his brows slightly and said calmly, "Come on, if we defeat you, the work-study students will win, right? Damn it. If I don't beat you up today, I won't wake up Xiao." Xiao Chenyu yelled. "Okay, let's give it a try." Cheng Xiao twisted his neck and said. Xiao Chenyu stared at Cheng Xiao coldly. At this moment, the anger on his face had disappeared, replaced by a dignified look. Xiao Chenyu, 6th-year student, Wuhan Lang, 11th level, 1st level battle soul master. In the world of soul masters, reporting your martial soul and level is a sign of respect for your opponent. As soon as he finished speaking, a layer of blue light appeared on Xiao Chenyu's body. Under the flicker of blue light, his body muscles began to swell, his eyes turned light green, and his claws became sharper. At the same time, a white soul ring rose from his feet. Seeing this, Cheng Xiao grinned and said, "Cheng Xiao, martial soul shadow soldier, 13th level, 1st level battle soul master. Please enlighten me."